Good evening, everyone. It's 5:30. Marnie, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Steve Friedman.
Here.
Councilmember Deb Gillis.
Here.
Vice Mayor Don Horton.
I'm here.
And Mayor Sharon Mahoney.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay. Ty Harris, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you, Mr. Harris. Okay, any requests from the council or deletions, additions? Steve?
Yeah, I think
Mike? Mike?
The fireworks, I don't have it up right now. I don't need to discuss that tonight.
Oh, Deb?
I'd like to pull tab 5 on the consent agenda, just for a very, very short conversation.
And tab 5 would be?
It's on the, for Lower Mat for the culvert project.
Tab 5, okay. And you want to pull that and discuss it?
Yeah, it'll
Okay.
be very short.
Okay, Don?
no, I have nothing, ma'am.
Okay, all right. Before we get started, I had a request from Mr. Dully to come up and speak. So if it's okay with everybody, would you like to come up, please?
Hello. All right, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mayor, council members, fellow Islamorada residents. I'm Greg Dully, if you've forgotten. I first wanted to express my heartfelt gratitude to each and every one of you for your support, your encouragement, and belief in me throughout this process. It means more to me than I can say. As you know, the outcome of this appointment was a tie between Anna Richards and myself. After much thought, prayer, and consideration, I've decided to step down and withdraw my candidacy. This was not an easy decision, but it's one that I made with the best interest of our community in mind. I believe that stepping aside this time will foster unity and hope that this will allow this council to move forward together. This is not the end of my journey. I remain deeply committed to serving our community, and I fully intend to run in the next general election. And I hope you have your support as well then. In the meantime, I will continue to be involved supporting the work that needs to be done and ensuring that our shared values and priorities remain in the forefront. I truly appreciate all of you, and I ask that we come together in support of Anna as we move forward. Our community is stronger when we stand united, and that was why I ran, and I was hoping to get an appointment. I'm confident that together we can work together to make Islamorada a beautiful place that I live. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Thank you, Greg.
You're welcome.
Don?
Point of order, Mayor, if, in light of that withdrawal, and Greg, as we all said, it was an extremely tough decision. But in light of that withdrawal, I think I want to have a discussion about where we move forward from here, because we all agreed on the process at the onset of this, and we took 7 people. We took 8 people, 1 withdrew. We took 7 people. We brought them down to 3. We took 3 to 2, and then now we really have 1. And I think I'd like, if it's acceptable, I'd like to make kind of a stacked motion. We agreed on the process, and but we also talked about waiting until the March meeting. So I guess if I could, I don't know if it's acceptable, John, and you can tell me, but I'd like to move that discussion from March to now, and make a motion that we move that, and then secondly, I make a motion that we now bring the second runner-up, or the first runner-up, however it was, Anna, and recommend that she become our next replacement for Buddy's resignation in seat 1. Is that acceptable to do a motion that way?
Yes, you can do them together as one motion if you'd like, or you can do them separately as two separate motions.
I think I'd
however
just
you want.
rather take care of both of them at once, if that's okay.
Public comment?
So that's my motion, sir.
Yep, and there would be public comment on
Sure.
on that as well, obviously, if the motion
Thank you.
gets a second.
So I will make a second to your motion to move ahead with this, but I would like to have a caveat that I think I'm ahead of myself.
Okay.
I have a caveat, if this goes forward, I'll just say it now, I don't think it applies now, as I would like to, I think it's only fair to our candidate, Anna, to swear her in at the end of the night, not now, and have her seat with no background on any of the stuff. I agree. So I would prefer her not to
I don't think that's a
start
problem.
tonight, just because I just don't think it's fair. She didn't have a book or anything.
That's all of this is online. All of this is, now, she might not have the
She
you know,
didn't
the
have
pre-
the
the
briefing.
pre-meetings
She
or
didn't-
whatever,
I don't
yeah.
think it really
I
matters
just-
that
I
much.
just
Yeah,
would,
okay.
Steve, do you have anything you'd like to say?
I was going to talk about holding a special election, since
I don't think we can.
We can. I think we can. There's some hurdles to get over.
John?
But we can. Because I think that we owe that to the people of Islamorada to choose the candidate that they want.
John, listen, I all along wanted a special election, but we can't, according to,
Under the charter as it's currently written, we cannot have a special election, let me say, cannot have a special election to fill the vacant seat. The charter dictates that it has to be appointed by this council. The only way you could do that is if we had a special election to amend the charter. And then if that charter amendment passes, then you could have a special election if that passes. So, you could do it that way, but I mean, just in terms of logistics, as a reminder, that it's done by ordinance. We'd have to come back with an ordinance for a charter amendment. You guys would approve it on 2 readings. We'd work with the supervisor of elections on a special election date, have an election, and then if it's approved as amended, then you could have a special election, which would be the same process, an ordinance, 2 readings, and then work with the supervisor of elections to have a special election date.
so the long and the short of that is that it would probably be a minimum of 2 months. Probably
fine with that.
more.
It would be
But-
more than that. It
It
would
would be
take
more.
Yeah.
two readings for the ordinance.
Oh, right.
So
More
that's
like
2
4
months.
months.
And then election.
More like 4 months.
But-
Right.
But we have a responsibility in our code and in our charter.
Yes.
To follow our charter, and our charter tells us that we are tasked with making this decision. And at the same time, when we started this entire thing after the resignation of Buddy, we all agreed on what the process was going to be, and we're at the end of that process. We were stuck. We didn't know how to get out of that. We're not stuck now. So my motion stands.
Or my second stands.
so John, do we have public comment first before we?
Yes, I would
Okay.
have public comment.
All right.
And just as a reminder, this is, so that the public is aware, this is a motion to have the discussion about it today, and that the appointment be that Ms. Richards be appointed to the vacant council seat.
Okay. Marnie? We have anyone?
Well, since it was not really on the agenda, we do have Van wanted to speak on several mayor council communications. Yeah,
Oh, it's okay, it's
Yeah,
okay.
it wasn't on the agenda. I would say if
It's okay.
anybody wants to speak, you should get your cards in now so that we know.
Yes, Joe Wishmeyer, Plantation Key. You know, I feel that this is at the last minute, and in fairness to all the other candidates who applied for this, if Mr. Gully was not going to run from the beginning, that may have changed the process and who actually came down to some of the final decisions. So it would be my suggestion that if you're going to start this, you ought to start again with all the candidates. If you think that you have it narrowed down to one, then it should go very, very quickly. But in fairness to the other candidates and everybody else, I think that you ought to at least start from the beginning and start with all 7 or 8 candidates. Thank you.
Agreed on the process.
Van?
Good evening, Van Cadenhead. I think we're jumping ahead a little bit rapidly here. Mr. Horton brought out that we are obligated by the charter to do this, and we are also obligated by the charter to elect somebody in there within 30 days, which we have not done. So we have busted the charter once. And there is some question being investigated now that there's a possibility that Mr. Pender might not have been a valid candidate in the last election, owing to the fact that he was not a full-time resident of Islamorada at the time of the election. And he was here long enough to nominate Sharon and Don for their positions, and then rapidly left town after he stepped down. So I think we should look at the fact of if he was not a valid candidate, then the next in line would be me, because I was the runner-up for that position. I ran for that position against that man. And I don't think that the qualifications that I have are even anywhere near comparable to what Anna Richards has. I've been here for 65 years. I've been here at every meeting for 25 years. You don't want to see my face because I know where the bodies are buried. You don't want me up there in that seat. I understand why. But I also understand I got 1,411 people in the village of Islamorada to vet me and ask me to be in that seat. And I would like very much to be in that seat to help Mr. Friedman and anybody else that's in favor of helping the residents of Islamorada and saving the environment of Islamorada. And saving the environment of Islamorada does not include Parmalee Island cutting down eagle's nests. It does not include making a difference in a real estate sale between $57 million and $65 million, which is a direct conflict of interest for Ms. Richards. Or Mrs. Richards, excuse
I don't think it's fair
me.
to be disparaging anyone.
No.
I'm not
don't either.
disparaging anyone, I'm
Yes.
stating facts, sir.
All right, all right.
And if you don't want to hear the facts, I'm sorry, but they are what they are.
Deb? No.
So I hope you will reconsider this, and I think you're rushing jumping the gun on this. Mr. Dully stepped down, and if he had stepped down before the last meeting or during the last meeting, we wouldn't be having this discussion. Thank you very much.
First of all, Van, Buddy Pender is a resident. You don't need to talk to me. He was a resident. Just because he went out of town when we weren't up here does not make him not a resident. So that's not a fact. And number two, your behavior towards this council, when you get up there and yell and scream at us and
Am I
berate
yelling
us-
and screaming? I don't believe
Well-
I am, madam. I'm merely stating my point of
Okay,
view.
your attitude is what is affecting all of us with you right now. So I appreciate your thoughts, but I'm having a really hard time when you make accusations that aren't true. Buddy was a resident here, but he left for personal reasons. That's all that needs
Well,
to
he
be said.
certainly did.
So, all
And
right,
we're all
Marnie?
aware of them. Thank you very much.
Dr. Harold Dalton?
Good evening, council, and thank you. Dr. Harold Dalton, Upper Metacumbe Key. I, in my career, have been on numerous local, state, and national committees of different governmental sources. And in each one of them, there's been a mechanism to break a tie. Now, I think tonight, number one, Anna is the best candidate for this position. I think she should fill this position. I agree with the motion, but I don't agree with the second. I think that there are things that will be voted on tonight that may end up in a tie. You can't have a committee of an even number. You have to have a mechanism to break a tie. So I would recommend that you bring Anna on, vote on it now, bring her up, and then have 5 people on the committee. But number two, And more important, you guys need to come up with a mechanism to break a tie if somebody is sick, if somebody can't be here, if somebody has to withdraw their vote, there needs to be a mechanism to break that. And that's an error in the charter. It needs to be corrected somehow, particularly on important votes. I would defer to council on exactly how to get that done, but that needs to be done in the future. So again, I strongly recommend Anna for the job. I think she's exceptionally well qualified and will be a fine representative of this population and of this city. And I think she should be brought up, if the vote is positive, should be brought on this evening before, and not wait another month. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dahl.
Anyone else, Marnie?
Yes, Robert Young?
Roger Young, Plantation Key. My comments are directed to Councilman Friedman. I'm listening up there, 2-3 months will be fine with you. The last meeting, you stated it came down to the last two. And very publicly on your Facebook and your email, you suggested that 2 of these sitting councilmen changed their vote for the good of the village. Now, Mr. Dully dropped out, whatever reason, but the deal was the deal. You said you'd agreed to those 2. And now you're going to talk about reloading all this other craziness and starting from scratch? You're not making a president here. You did put it on Facebook, you did put it on your email. And you just suggest that they vote for your person. And it didn't happen. And Mr. Dully dropped out, so you need to do the right thing.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you, Roger. Marnie, anyone else?
No one else has signed up and no hands raised on Zoom.
Okay, council, we have 2 things to decide. John, do you have a thought that about Anna? After you make the motion, how the procedure would work?
Yeah, I mean, you could do it either way. She could either get sworn in right here and now. I think that's what happened with current Councilwoman Gillis when she was on the council the first time. I think she got sworn in and got thrown in right there in that day. Or you can say, you know what, we're going to do it, but we're going to have the swearing in take place after this meeting. Which I think either one of those options I would recommend. I wouldn't recommend waiting until March, because if whoever you appoint will at least have access as a council person to meet with staff to prepare for the meetings. And staff can get that person set up through IT and things like that. So whether the first meeting is tonight or March, my recommendation would be at least to deal with it. So that the person, again, whether it's Ms. Richards or whomever, that the person can at least have access to the staff like a normal council
Okay.
person.
Deb, before you jump in, I know what you're going to do. Let's deal with one thing at a time.
Well, that's what I was going to suggest.
Okay, well, that's why I'm sitting here. So let's go back to Anna first. We have a motion to bring Anna up here?
Well,
The motion-
Well, okay, so let me see if I can clarify. Maybe it's exactly what you're going to say, okay?
Okay.
But in my mind, I need to clarify it. So we have a motion, first of all, to have the discussion tonight, which we're having. And then we had a motion that's tied to it to accept Anna.
Yeah, it's really one motion that's stacked, but okay. Yes, ma'am.
It's tied together. I
Yes,
just
ma'am.
said that.
Yes,
It
ma'am.
was tied together. I'm more than happy to make that motion then, but I would, once we have that, I would like to ask Anna to the mic for a second before we go any further.
So I've made the motion in a second, so if that, whatever.
And just right, so it's one motion,
Got
at
it.
least the one that's on the table, motion to change the date of the consideration to today.
Yes, sir.
And to accept Ms. Richards, or appoint Ms. Richards and the vacant council seat.
Correct.
Okay, so Marnie, we have a first and a second. Would you call the roll, please?
Vice Mayor Don Horton,
Yes.
Councilmember Deb Gillis,
Yes.
Councilmember Steve Friedman,
In the spirit of the union, yes.
and Mayor Sharon Mahoney.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Okay, now may I?
Of course, go ahead, Deb.
Thank you. Anna, can I ask you to the mic for just a minute, please? I promise it'll be painless.
Uh-huh.
Well, it is Islamorada Council, so.
Anytime you get close up here, it's not painless.
Yeah, I know, that's,
I don't know, this has been pretty painful.
so the question is, and it would be
Can
your
I say something
option.
even before you even go there?
Sure.
I think you're gonna be okay with what I'm gonna say, is that I have read everything tonight, but in all fairness to everybody involved, including myself, I would prefer myself, if we waited till the end of the meeting, to do it and let you guys continue on with the agenda. The agenda is pretty simple, everything. I don't see where it's gonna be a problem with everything you guys are gonna vote on tonight, so if you guys are good with that, then I'm good with that.
Thank
you have another question?
No, that's exactly what I was going to ask you, is if you're comfortable, because I lived through that, going from that seat to that seat, and the night that I did that, we voted on the sewer assessments.
No.
You regret every day of it.
And yeah, and
No,
I'm still
I
here
feel confident
going,
with a lot of the stuff that you guys are gonna talk about, but not having the inside
track.
meetings like you guys have had to brief yourselves more fully, to be fully informed on the decision that you're gonna make. When I go to make a decision, I like to have all the facts down and have all the information, and I prefer to just make that way.
Awesome.
And that is an awesome thought. I would love to have you set tonight, but I think you're at a disadvantage.
Yeah, I'd rather wait till let's get through that, and then we can do it afterwards.
So before we end tonight, before we leave tonight, we
Don't
can
leave yet, Anna.
Don't leave. You have to stay to the bitter end also.
All right, well, come on.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Madam Mayor, can I just mention one thing to soon-to-be Councilwoman Richards? You are now governed by sunshine, so if we
Don't
take
talk
a...
to nobody?
You can talk to them, but if
can't
we
talk
take
to
a break
us.
or anything about don't speak with any of your other council members about anything that could come before you all. So it's just like on election night, even though you haven't been sworn in yet, it now is triggered. So you're free to talk to everybody out there, though.
I guess
Thank
we'll have
you.
popcorn?
Sorry.
No, it's all
Welcome
good.
aboard.
Welcome aboard.
Okay.
And
Thank
I would
you.
like to make one more short statement, is I want to thank Mr. Dolly for his efforts and his consideration of the entire village.
Thank you.
Yes, him and I spoke last night, so,
Thank you.
That's a uniter, not a divider.
yes.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank
Him and
you.
I have already talked about working together on projects and,
Perfect.
Thank you,
Thank
Anna.
you.
okay?
Don't go
Okay.
away.
Okay, moving on. Reports, presentations, and announcements. I believe we have Matt Bellinger for the near shore water. Diane's not here, so Matt, will you want to come up? Terry.
That's a hard act to follow. All right, so my name is Matt Bellinger. I'm on the Nearshore Water Committee, and here filling the big shoes of Diane Harbaugh as she's kicking off the
Over the hill.
over the hill. Almost got it wrong there. Over the hill tournament, sailfish.
Thank you.
So item A was the committee received an update from the sheriff's office. The procurement of a new boat is in progress, and it will be needed to be outfitted with emergency equipment before it's ready for use. The sheriff's office is planning ahead for summer boat traffic in nearshore areas and raise the issue of missing and submerged buoys. There's a lot. The committee members were informed by Marine Resources staff that the county, on the county level, they're aware of the issues of the buoys that are offshore outside of our zone, and especially at Whale Harbor. And most of it's due to most recent installation being destroyed within the first year and a half. Usually the buoys around town last 3 years or so, 4 years. So what they're likely going to do, because they're figuring a lot of guys are tying up to the buoys out there, they're pursuing a permanent signage system out there in the area. Because without the signage, law enforcement's feckless in being able to enforce the going into no motor zones or the pull and troll areas that are out there. The timeline is still to be determined, and the committee's also discussed the potential for a buoy inspection program so that we stay ahead of the ball, so we don't have ghost buoys and we don't have buoys that are gone missing for so long. The next item was the committee discussed a more holistic approach to management of the Islamorada's nearshore waters following concerns raised by both the committee and council along Sunset Drive with requests from the community members to establish another vessel exclusion zone. A number of proposals and options were discussed with the committee, and ultimately we're requesting more information from staff about what options are within the village legal authority to regulate these nearshore waters. The committee will continue to discuss the options and ideas at the next meeting, and will return to the council with any requests and recommendations. Next item up was the committee discussed the recent finalization of the Florida Keys National Marine Sanctuary Rule and the next steps by Congress and state. In other words, a couple more years probably before we find out that. The next one after that, the committee heard updates on the bird stake project at Papa Joe's. If you look at Papa Joe's, there's no fault of theirs. Boats are now cutting across flats to get to, because they don't know they can stay in the ditch along US 1 and such. So Nick Cross, a newer member on the committee, got with the EPA and they hammered through real quickly their survey. They've already surveyed the area and will be coming up with a staking program in there. And then the final one was, no, there's two more, sorry. Sorry. All right, citing ongoing concerns regarding safety, the committee is requesting that council pursues the establishment of an idle, it could be no wake, whatever legal comes up with the best way, zone through Stark's wheel ditch, the wheel ditch that's behind Robbie's, in coordination with the appropriate state agencies. A map's been provided. They have it on the computer if you guys have questions about what we're talking about, delineating the suggested idle, slow speed, no wake zone in that area. That is a hot potato that's kind of been thrown around. We approached that 10 years ago? Steve was on the committee then, a good long time ago. And it was finally put down by the FWC. The genetics of this whole thing is FWC went to Laguna Verde State Park and said, you guys need to do something with your wheel ditch about speed. They want it slowed down. They want it down to nothing. The state park came to us and said, you guys need to come up with a plan for the wheel ditch. I think, and I don't know if can I put congestion in on this? Mm-hmm. I think what it is the FWC doesn't want to deal with shutting it down for any blowback they might get from residents and or guide community. The state park doesn't want that, because if you look on the plat, it's the state parks. Now, we're more than happy to work with them to come up with a program and all that, because across the board with us, we saw a growing need for some intervention in there of trying to slow down traffic. And the last one is, the committee received an update on the Taverner Creek extension of the slow speed zone, and we're pleased to hear the items currently under review. We're definitely for anything to make those channels safer.
I got a question.
Okay, go ahead.
How does the Guides Association feel about bringing this to a no wake or a slow speed?
We haven't broached it with them, and I'm a member of the Guides Association. Right. If you idle through there or do minimum speed, or not minimum speed, that's not going to work. No wake.
Yeah.
It's about an 8-minute disruption
I know.
in your
I've been
day.
through it a million times.
And if 8 minutes ruins your day,
Yeah.
Walmart's hiring greeters.
Yeah, right.
I mean, if you go through there enough, sooner or later you're going to have to come on the brakes, because there's going to be a 12-year-old and a 14-year-old in a paddleboard going across the front end of your boat there. It's time.
It is.
And that's my opinion.
No, I get it.
And it's been a heated discussion. We've had 3 meetings on this one.
How do we advance that?
Well, I sat in on the meeting, and by the way, what a great committee it is. They're very well organized, different people with great suggestions. And next morning, I called John. He's reading his book and eating popcorn, but I called John the next morning and asked him if he could find out who has the rights to that cut. And did you find out anything?
Still don't have the answer to that. It's
Okay,
still-
so we're working on it.
It seems like it's about 3 different bureaucracies.
I know, he's working on it, but I did ask the next morning, because I think it's extremely important, because I've been through there too, and it's so dangerous. It just is.
Always has been.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you haven't had a close call in there, you just don't go in there enough.
Yeah.
Many times.
Yeah, so I will stay on Mr. Quick to keep finding out the answer to who owns it, and then we'll proceed to, I think, the common thing to do is to make it a no-wake zone myself, but we'll see. So,
Thank you, Kevin.
any other
Okay.
questions? Steve, do you have anything for Matt?
And
Deb?
just, can I throw a really quick
Sure.
aside that we're going to talk about at the next meeting? But there is a great, and I'm not a hypochondriac. There's a great big monster out in the Gulf. It's 15 miles off of Marathon, and it's 2 miles off of Key West, and it's about 8 miles off of Cudjoe. It's a huge red tide. It's our problem.
Yeah.
We've got to stop thinking it's not our problem. I was saying it today. The fish fry that are dying in there alone
Yeah.
are years and years and years of class of fish coming. I don't know how we do it, but it's going to be in the backyard here.
We need to make the governor understand the problems that's coming out of the mainland that
Well-
is heading our way.
We sewered
Yeah,
to save the water, the West Coast, Star
right.
Island,
Yeah.
that's right.
septic system still.
That's right.
But yeah, it's one of those things that we need to bark really loudly, not wait for a West Coast group
I agree.
to do it for us.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
Thank
Matt.
you.
Thanks, Kevin.
Before we move forward, I would like to remind everybody that this Sunday at the Islander Resort, we are having a fundraiser for a fire rescue boat. Our wonderful Terry Abel and Judy Hall, my partners in crime, are put together a really good event. It's from noon to 6 o'clock. We've got Terry doing his barbecue, we've got food truck, face painting, hair braiding for the kids, and we've got Terry and my famous little duck pond for the kids and darts for the adults. So it should be a good time for a really good cause. If everybody remembers, for whatever reason, we did not get funding for the fire rescue boat. The Lauren Mello is going to try to come and come in for the day. The family, June Smith, is going to be here with her whole family. So it's extremely important that we don't let this fade away, that we stay on top of it. So I invite everybody to come out Sunday. I thank Roger Young for the cooler full of liquor for one of my raffle prizes. And I encourage everybody to step up to the plate and help us make the waters and the Keys much safer for everyone.
And Judy,
Okay.
I took out a loan for eggs so that I can make key lime pie. So.
At Judy's Key Lime Pie Contest, I forgot to, we're having that going on
That's another
as well.
tab.
I know,
That's
right?
another time. So, all right, Mayor, Council, Communication. I just wanted to get a feel on, before it gets, put it back out, how everybody feels about the Christmas lights. Do we want to decorate? Do we want to spend X amount of dollars? Do we want to set a limit for our staff to put out to see what we get back?
How much
So-
did we spend?
Well, we got it down because of Henry. I think it's 110,000, am I right? Yeah, I
Sounds
think
about
that's
right. I
right,
don't have the exact
110,
figure.
which is a lot, and we just decorate in the park. I know it's beautiful, but before we sign a contract with anybody, I think it's important that we have this discussion so we have time to make a decision. So I'm just looking for how everybody feels.
Me first?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, that's a lot of money to spend on holiday decorations. That's basically only here. There was two other places that they showed up in the village. I think we as a town need to do something, but not to that degree. I think that what we did here in the park, it was beautiful, but it was a lot of money to do. I mean, like, I don't want to go into specifics really, but decorating the administrative building, wrapping it in lights, that's a lot of time and money on that. The little blow-up artificial reef that we had here and down the way, those were very cute. Those were very nice. The wrapping of the trees, maybe we don't have to wrap all the trees. Maybe we only wrap every third tree or something. I don't know. But to not recognize the holidays in a tourist town that lots of people come here for I think we just need to modify it. I don't know what we get for $50,000 these days, but I'll just throw that number out there. We need to find out what that gets us, or 75, or.
Well, maybe we can make a recommendation for the staff to do
Right.
50,000 and a 75,000
To-
and see
to
what
see
that
what
gives
that
us.
gets us,
And,
yes.
and Don, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, if I can, I'll just roll both of them in together, because you've got A and B, and you took the stage on both of them, and.
Yes, I did.
And I think, I'd like to see if staff can figure out how we can lessen that number. And then I'd like to also see on both of these, if maybe we can have a discussion about, every year, the sheriff gives us, returns quite a bit of money back to us for unspent funds. And I think that maybe we could take those funds that the sheriff gives back to us, and I think this year that's dedicated to buy a boat, but from the future, maybe we can use that money, which is never a guaranteed amount, but he's really good with spending our money and saving, and we can bring that money and use that for both the charitable giving and for holiday lights, and allocate it that way. And maybe that way we're not taking out the taxpayers' dollars, those funds that are coming back from the sheriff can
Well,
be
but
used for that.
I agree about using that money for that, but my point for the charitable giving is, do we even have, should we even be doing it at all? Who are the four, or now it's 5 of us, to decide who gets, the chair's empty, but.
Well, I think if we had a committee, that would make that decision instead of these 5 that are up here making that decision, and we knew what we were gonna be able to spend, and we could allocate that, then it takes it off of the pressure of the elected officials. There's a committee that actually
But
would
should we
score
even be
it.
doing it at all?
Well, if it's not coming out of the taxpayer dollars that way, then I agree that the concept of collecting taxes from people and then turning around and giving it to not-for-profits, that everybody should be able to make that decision on their own.
Yep.
Where they really feel that the
I
money
agree.
should go to.
I
So,
agree. I
but-
don't think we should be in it at all myself. That's just my
But I
opinion.
wouldn't be opposed to do it that way, but maybe we can, so to start off with just this discussion, I think we should have some holiday lights. I don't think that unless the taxpayers want to pay $110,000 for those, and I think that staff can come back with something a little more reasonable.
And spread it around town.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, I
ma'am.
agree.
Yeah, something a little bit of, and I know we don't have a lot of places, so have
It's
we?
really pretty
Did you
down
want to
by the-
comment on the holiday lights? Because I want to comment on the
No,
charity
I'm fine with all
stuff.
that. It's just a little bit, it's a shocking sticker
is.
price, because
It is.
that's a
It's
bathroom behind a
ridiculous.
library,
Yeah, it is.
basically. is
Yeah.
what
Right.
that is. So,
It is. I
I
agree.
like your ideas. I think, let's look at it. Obviously, these are things that the community really loves and enjoys, and we ought to look at continuing that somehow, and maybe just creating a better budget.
Be inventive on it.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So,
Call Elon.
the comment that I have about the, have we switched subjects? I don't want to
you're
jump
fine.
on you.
Not really.
Okay, on the charitable donations, is that, first of all, you guys did a great job in paring them down over the last couple of years. I think you budgeted 125 and you took it down to 68
We
or
did
something like
60,
that.
69.
But I think we need to have a more thorough discussion on, we don't have, in Islamorada, we don't have what I call a social service department. People who are struggling have no place to go, and maybe we need to define the charitable donations a little tighter as to who can qualify. And then, a couple years ago, they were making, I don't think they called them contracts, but with the people that they gave money to, returnables, that's not the right word either, deliverables, okay, we're going to give you this money, and for this money, what are you going to do, or how are you going to spend the money? And they had like a little contract that they had to present. I just think we need to consider the fact that, and I'll name a couple of them. The Good Health Clinic, there is a lot of people that use the Good Health Clinic that I kind of find it hard to believe that people would not want people to have health care service. And it's hard to draw the line at where that stops, but I'd like to see us give some money, not necessarily a lot, to those kind of charitable services, whether we're talking that or the dental program that services everybody, or whether we're talking, those are the two that I come up with off the top of my head because I didn't
Or a rotation,
look through. I'm sorry?
or a rotation maybe even.
The other thing is that in that charitable donation, I think that they also included things like, this is where I get a little bit sideways in my thought pattern, is that FIRM has, the organization FIRM that fights for insurance. They've done a great job, and have they solved the problem? No, but they keep working at it, and without them, they're an advocate. Maybe they can be considered a consultant and come out of a different fund or something instead, or even a lobbyist, and come out of a different fund if you just don't want to put in the same fund. There's them. Steve, we all live by the water, the eye care people, but there's about 1,000 different organizations these days besides eye care. But we all live by the water. Without that water, we don't have. So I think it just needs some more discussion, and I think we need a better process. There's items that, I don't mean this way, that were on there that I don't think that that we need to give to those. It's my opinion, it's just one opinion, but to cut it out complete, I'm not sure I want to do that.
Steve?
Yeah, I think we need to continue discussing and see what we can do. Maybe we can come up with some sort of program, whether it's specified toward healthcare or something like that. I don't want to be the one to say, no, we shouldn't do this at all. But at the same time, it's a difficult process. So maybe there's a way that we could just improve that process.
Well, let's do this. Now you guys can think about it, and we'll next month have another short discussion about it, and maybe come up with some different.
Maybe we can
And
write our
we'll-
ideas
That's what I'm saying.
and get them to Marnie. and-
Maybe
And invite the public to bring in their
we
ideas
can,
as well.
we can make Anna make that final decision, right?
Right.
Okay, all right, so that's done and over. Now,
Thank you.
Don Horton, a conversation about the mobile home park.
So many times in the past, we talk about important things and then we talk about them and then they kind of go away. And I want to keep this on the top of the list, and for multiple reasons. But the reconstruction of the CBs and San Pedro trailer parks had just been really a thorn in my side. What I put in our packets was to have a discussion about where we're at and what we need to continue to keep doing. We are not collecting tax dollars that are valuable tax dollars on that land. The improvements that are done on there, because of overlaps on three very specific Florida statutes, are intertwined with each other. And one part of the Florida statute says that modular homes, because they are built in the state and in what the code actually says, in order to expand the availability of affordable housing, any residential manufactured building that is certified under this chapter of a department may be placed on a mobile home lot in a mobile home park. And not only are they talking about, when they give this statement of manufactured building, they're talking about modular homes. The modular homes are permanent residents, and they're built under a completely different set of codes than what we would call trailers, mobile homes. And the state actually calls those manufactured homes. And so what has happened, and it's not just in our city, there's 3 or 4 of these parks in Marathon. There's a whole island down in the lower Keys. There's one of these parks in Key Largo, maybe two. And it's hard to find out exactly who the ownership of these things are. But these folks have found a loophole through this, that they take those modular homes, they place those modular homes, they take the title to those modular homes and they title them as mobile homes. And they buy a mobile home sticker like you would a license plate, like you would on a car. You put it onto that modular home, and then those folks are then paying for unimproved property because of the overlap of these 3 Florida statutes that we put in your,
Wait a second.
in your packet.
Can I say something?
Yes.
If I remember correctly, somebody in general public comment last year came up and said that they weren't paying their fair share, and then you got up and you said, well, you did. You said, oh no, that they're paying the right amount.
No, ma'am, I did not.
Well, what'd you say?
I
You
gave
said
you a
something.
complete report of a breakdown of all 3 of these statutes.
Because I knew this has come up before, is
Yeah,
my
I did.
point. Is my point.
And I gave you a breakdown up there of all 3 of these statutes and explained to you that these modular homes that are there on that property
Mm-hmm.
were licensed as a mobile home, and those folks over there are paying taxes on unimproved property.
Okay, I knew it was
The only
that.
thing that I can see that they're paying taxes on is the clubhouse and the swimming pool.
Wow.
And so they're actually getting a free ride with all of our services in Islamorada, from all the way from fire to any social service,
Wow.
to police to ambulance and all. So since I talked to the modular home manufacturing people, I talked to the DMV licensing people, and I talked to the mobile home licensing people, I've talked to our state representative, and I've talked to our lobbyists. And I think that I guess what I'd like to be able to say that I'm speaking for the council instead of just for myself. And I'd like to be able to talk to the city manager of Marathon, and I'd like to be able to talk to the county manager, and I'd like to be able to talk to our lobbyists and our state legislature folks and say, put this on the September legislative agenda, and let's get this off of dead center, and let's start doing right for, for us, and start collecting. See if the tax collector, the property appraiser, can start collecting taxes on this property so that we're not doing this for free. So that's kind of what I'm asking, if
Yeah,
I've got
I'm
that.
fine with that idea. I think just for clarification, for people that might not be aware, those homes that are on 12-foot stilts are considered mobile homes.
Yes, sir.
And so, and then I'm not sure that the property owner, be it Sun Outdoors or another one, owns that property underneath, so therefore they can sell those mobile homes to other owners, and then they just put it into their rental pool, right? So there's different owners that might be on each one, or it could be Sun Outdoors that also owns them. So it seems to me that they have a very strong lobbying group, which is maybe found or created this loophole. So I'd be
So-
willing to participate in that.
Just as a clarification also, they still pay ground property tax, I'll call it,
Unimproved property,
but it's classified unimproved because it doesn't have a
doesn't have a house on it.
actual house on it.
According to the state law,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
not a
yeah.
house.
I understand that. I'm just making sure I understand what they're paying in taxes.
Right.
But the people who own the mobile homes, or some of them are classified RVs, some of them are still classified RVs, just pay a licensing fee, which is, I don't know, $100 a year maybe.
Right.
Okay, I just making sure I understand.
I
Thank
say
you.
go forward. I think
Thank
it's
you.
something that
Okay.
we should look into. Agreed?
Yeah?
Okay.
Thank you.
Steve, regulations on fireworks, don't want to talk about it? We don't have to discuss the empty seat anymore, that's done. So, moving on.
July date.
I was, flip my
sorry.
page, I was gonna do that.
I saw you turn the page, I'm sorry.
Okay, Steve, we gotta figure out July's meeting with you, so. You and I briefly talked about it. Do you want to move it to when?
Yeah, the only other dates that I could do would be the third week in July, 22, 24. I mean,
Is anybody?
Can you do anything at all with 2 days in a row, like the 8th and 9th, the 7th and the 8th, the 9th and the 10th, or the 10th and 11th, or?
I'm going to be,
I don't remember what you said.
I'll
your
be out of town
conflict
from the
was.
6th through the 10th or, yeah,
Oh.
or 11th.
Okay.
That's my issue.
So check your calendars. Is everybody okay with then that would be the 22nd and the 24th? You want to
But-
do that?
Well, I don't have a problem with doing that, but then, no, yeah. But then we come back on the 5th and the 7th with another
Yeah.
council meeting?
Yeah, and have to do the agenda. Any suggestions, John?
If you're, I will just say, if you're having difficulty finding a date and it's getting pushed into another, there are a number of jurisdictions that will not meet for a month in the summer or sometimes December. So, I mean, if you're looking at back-to-back weeks,
Yeah.
it's consistent with the practice of other cities if that's something, if you're just not able to settle on a date.
I had the August
An
dates
idea.
as 12/14 in my
No,
calendar.
it's the 5th and 7th.
Okay.
And 7. So,
Oops.
Maybe we can push that back so that
We
gives more
can't, we
room.
have budget. if
Oh,
you'll
okay.
look.
Well, that's what I was going to suggest, is maybe
Trying.
we move July's meeting to the end of the month and cancel August because we have lots of budget meetings and budget workshops in August. Is that correct?
Yeah, and you also have the League of Cities conference in Orlando in August as well.
can I ask a question?
You please.
Thank you. Jennifer, what does your schedule show as far as our work that's our responsibility on our comp plan at that time of month in July? I know you've got a pretty good timeline and,
Yeah, we haven't, right now, the only requirements is through March. We haven't had anything booked out through July yet for the comp plan. So right now, whatever you plan, I can work around.
And do you want to ask Anna?
Oh,
good point, Steve.
She has no say right now.
is there a problem with you? And yeah, oh, that's good. Do you have any
This is
problem?
administrative, you can talk.
Anything in July for you?
Anna, you have no life anymore, so
Okay.
welcome aboard.
So, what do we want to do? We want to cancel July?
Look, it's, y'all decide, I'm fine. Well, I'll move anything around.
Well, I made the suggestion.
To get rid
You
of
can-
August?
To get rid of August and move July to the
Well, we're-
22nd and 24th. But I'm cool with any of it. I'm like Don, I can do any of it, so.
But I
it's
thought August
between you
was our
guys.
budget.
It is, but.
Yeah,
you-
but that wouldn't avoid the budget meetings. That
I'll
would
get rid of
only
the August
avoided
meetings.
the August
The 5th
regular meetings.
and the 7th. Want to do that? Is that agreeable?
I'm fine.
What's that?
We get rid of the August 5th and 7th, so that's no-go, and we move July to the 22nd and the 24th. Anna, you writing this down?
No, but somebody is up there.
So,
We got it.
Does that,
August 22nd and 24th, and lose August,
You mean
July 22nd and 24th, and lose August 5th and 7th. Is that agreeable?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Everybody?
Yep.
Marnie, you got that? Yes, ma'am. John, you got that? You two pay attention.
Yep, I was writing it down, making sure I got everything correct.
Thank you, everybody.
You know what? That's
Appreciate
a
that.
Good halibut season in Alaska. I'll go to Alaska in August.
you got budget meetings.
Yeah, you got budget meetings.
in addition, just because we've set this, doesn't mean that we couldn't do a special call if we find
Thanks,
out
Deb.
that's.
Got it.
Correct, if there's anything
Got
pressing
it.
or anything like that, absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay. Village attorney, village manager communication. Guys, anything?
I have a status update for you, Frank. I have a little presentation once it comes up. Thank you. So while it comes up, I just wanted to do a little report to all of you about the status of the comprehensive plan update. There's been some stuff that I've been hearing and seeing and reading about that, we hired them in September and they haven't done any work, and that's factually untrue. So I just wanted to provide a status update about the progress that's happened behind the scenes and where we're going so that people can understand the work that's been happening. So First, I just wanted to show you the logo that we've created for the comprehensive plan. We're calling it Blueprint for Balance for Islamorada with the logo that was created by the consultant. So that was one of the first things that they did, was create that logo for us. Okay. Oops. So progress to date, there are key dates just to point out to anybody who's not aware. On September 17th, we had the resolution awarding the contract to Able City East. The contract was then approved for signature on your October 10th meeting. We then received the final agreement, all signed, sealed, and delivered on November 14th. So we were not able to start any work until that happened. So the earliest we could have started work was the middle of November. At that time, we had conversations with staff. We scheduled a kickoff meeting with staff, which was held on December 19th. We had a good turnout with department heads and other key staff members and the consultants to go over a timeline, a schedule, and just some basic information that they needed from staff. Other work that they've completed to date, Able City has been in the process of data collection. They have created a website, planislamorada.com. If you go to that website, you can find all about what a comprehensive plan is, the work that they've been doing, who they are, who all of our consultants are on this project. And there's also a survey. There's an opportunity for engagement. There's a survey that's been started a couple weeks ago, so I would encourage anybody to take the survey. The first survey is a lot of demographic information and what your hopes, thoughts, and dreams are for the village over the next so many years. So, we're trying to get as much engagement as possible. So visit that website and take the survey. The village has provided Able City with all of our GIS data and information so that they can work on starting to create the maps that they need. And the village has provided all existing plans as well as contacts for those working on upcoming plans, including our stormwater management plan, our wastewater plan, different things like that. So they have all of the contacts and the information that they need now to continue moving forward. We've also scheduled a site visit and the public charrette. Upcoming scheduled activities. So tomorrow night, the consultants and myself are meeting with the Islamorada Chamber Board members. We're going to just do a brief who we are, what we're doing, and invite them to participate in the upcoming charrette. They are in town next week, the consultants, for a site visit, which will include a tour of the village. We're going to go from one end of Islamorada to the other. Terry's going to drive us around on his little van, and we're going to have a good time. And then they're also going to be here for a couple days doing some technical meetings. They're going to meet one-on-one with the council members. They're going to meet one-on-one with some key groups in the village. These are invitation-only meetings because these were ones that we wanted to regulate and make sure that they got the information that they needed at first. Then on February 18th, they are attending the Islamorada Chamber After Hours event at the Islander Conference Center. I talked with Judy, and we thought that that would be a good event for them to meet a lot of different groups and different people and get some information from different people and maybe connect with other groups that they could then speak to. And then we have a week-long public charrette scheduled for March 24th through 28th. On the table by the agenda, I put out some save the date flyers. So if you have buildings or groups or organizations that you would like to take one and share it with, please do so. If you have places you want to hang one, please do so. If you need more, I'm happy to share them. The more people we have at this public charrette, the better it will be for the Village of Islamorada. This is what it looks like. There will be a public kickoff and hands-on design session on the first night, Monday, March 24th at 6 p.m. All of that whole week, everything will be in this room. We reserved this room for the entire week. So everything will be here. During the day, it will be sort of an open forum, open session. Walk on in, come meet the consultants, talk to them. Anybody's welcome. We want to encourage as much of that as possible. They'll be here starting at 9 a.m. and they'll be here as long as you want them to be here. And then Monday night, we have the big public kickoff. Then again, they have the open design studio. And then by Friday evening, we're hoping to do a work in progress presentation for the public again here in this room. So that's the save the date. Again, I'm happy to share that with anybody. And so I just wanted to provide my contact information. I am the project manager for this project. I want to make sure that any contact for this project is going through me. I would ask that nobody reach out to the consultants directly. I want to make sure that I get the information to the consultants and we are keeping track of what is being asked, and so that we know that everything is being answered. So my phone number is there, my email is there. Please shoot me an email, please give me a call. Again, the website, planislandmurata.com. We're happy to answer any questions. You know, again, we want this as much public participation as possible. And again, if anybody has an organization or a group that you feel would be beneficial or interested in this, we would be happy to talk to them and reach out to them. We're looking at nonprofits. We've got a list of nonprofits we're going to reach out to. We've got homeowners associations we're going to reach out to. So please reach out to me and get me those names and numbers, because I can only do so much by myself. I need as much help as possible. So I'm happy to answer your questions about that. I do have one other thing I want to sort of bridge off of this, but if you have questions about the comp plan, I'm happy to answer them.
Anybody? No? Steve? No? Go ahead.
So as some of you may know, last night the LPA was supposed to hold a meeting regarding the proposed ordinance for the transfer development rights amendments that we have been working on. This was a project that the previous council had directed staff to work on. I think it was in March of +23. And we have been working on it. We've been working with Rebecca Jeton, our land use consultant. We've been trying to get this information put forward. I understand there was a lot of consternation about some of the things that were in the proposed draft, and also whether or not we should be moving forward based on the fact that we are working on the comprehensive plan update. So that being said, before we move forward with any other large scale amendments, I want to find out from this particular council if this is a direction you want us to go prior to the comprehensive plan update. Do you want us to wait for that process and fold it into that process? I would like some direction from this council so that staff is not wasting their time.
Steve?
Yeah, I think that would be best. I mean, we hired this firm to do this, so I don't think we'll have less confusion that way and full input.
Deb?
I agree, it would be best. My biggest concern is that by the time we get the new comp plan, get it approved and back to us, we're probably looking at 6 months to a year, maybe longer. And to grind the city to a halt on some of this stuff is not good, in my opinion. So what I might suggest, because I fully understand that if we're doing a new comp plan, that we consider what we think is the right, that we move ahead with what we can. If it's not an urgent thing or time sensitive in some way, that we do put those things off. But whatever that we pass, and just to point out, because of the fact that they just had that, the TDR ordinance, that whatever we pass, it gets flagged and re-reviewed by Able City when we actually get a comp plan in place and we update those codes. But we need to move ahead, in my opinion.
Don?
Yeah, I don't think we need a stop forward motion on the village. I do believe that we should certainly, everything that happens goes through the process, is staff doing their review and then going to the LPA and then coming, to us. So there's a lot of vetting that happens already. Able City is already involved in what we're doing, so they'll still see what we're doing to make sure that it stays within that, within those parameters and that vision. And I hate to see things just grind to a halt. The TDR ordinance, for instance, you may not be aware, but that TDR ordinance goes back actually into 22. That thing has been kicked back and forth and started on and worked on and stopped by a previous manager back in 2022. So this is something that's been trying to move its way forward. It's been written and rewritten and withdrawn and done. And I think it's a shame that we started something in 2022 and not have it completed by now. I understand that there was a lot of consternation at the LPA level, and quite honestly, at my review of it, as to how it was put together. And I think we just need to, think we need to be careful, Steve, and not make mistakes that are going to overlap in our comp plan. But I don't think we need to just stop the forward motion of it. So that's kind of where I'm at on it, Jennifer.
Anybody else? I do agree that we can't stop motion, so do you have what you needed?
Thanks,
Okay.
Jennifer.
Anybody else? No? Okay. Public comment. Marnie?
Okay, let's see what we got here. First up is Van Cadenhead.
Good evening, Van Cadenhead. First off, I'd like to commend Councilman Horton for bringing up the Sun Communities problem that we've been facing now since Hurricane Irma. And I quite agree with him 100% on what he has presented, and I'm glad to see that the council is behind the motion to have it checked all the way to Tallahassee and see how this has occurred, and see if we can claw back some of these taxes that we should have been receiving all along. I would also like to thank the Islamorada Community Alliance, who brought this to the forefront in their newsletter, and Sue Miller was instrumental, point of the spear on this one. She recognized what was going on and brought it to the council several times, and I backed her up several times, and I'm really glad to see that the council now recognizes the disadvantage that the village has been put in by the overlapping of the various ordinances from the state. And I hope we can continue on that and bring it to a fruition for the benefit of the people. And I would also like to thank the planning department for getting the comprehensive plan charrette scheduled. And I would urge everyone in Islamorada to show up for that charrette, the week-long charrette, because this is a very important time in Islamorada, and we have to have close examination of the TDR ordinance, which started off at the beginning of the village as the TRE ordinance. And it's gone through several transmogrifications along the way, and it's resulted in 400-foot motel rooms becoming 10,000 square foot mansions on Millionaires Row. And those kinds of things ought to be discussed before we have any LPA recommendation to the council, and any council vote on TDRs should be give the public an opportunity to comment on the density and intensity and the square footage allowable with each EDU, because you're taking a motel room from the Creekside, which is 400 feet, and taking it down to the Islander and making it a cottage on the beach with 56 units, and that's available to be done because of the present TDR ordinance. I think we should stop and examine what we have done in the past and what we're going to try to do in the future. So I would urge you to, if you're going to continue on advisedly and cautiously, and with the understanding that
Thank you,
it's
Dan.
going to be thoroughly vetted by able cities. Thank you very much.
Marnie?
Next up is Dr. Harold Dalton.
Hey, folks, just briefly, I want to reiterate my recommendation on finding a mechanism to break a tie. It's just got to be part of how business operates in these committees. And number two, and I want to thank the mayor for bringing up the two subjects earlier, $110,000 for Christmas decorations and charitable giving. That's not the role of city government, folks. Think about lowering our taxes before we start spending things like that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Marnie?
Next up is Joe Wishmeyer.
Yes, Joe Wishmeyer, Plantation Key. Mayor and Council, I'm here tonight to try to straighten out some misconceptions. Apparently, some people, including some council members, are misconstruing citizens' legitimate concerns for just complaints and criticisms. We would love to give out more congratulations and attaboys, but sometimes that's often to swallow when you're making real difficult for those of us contemplating our fragile environment and added traffic concerns. I implore you to help us give out complaints regarding some of your decisions. For example, I would like to compliment Mr. Horton for looking into Legoland, Sun Country, about paying their fair share of taxes since they expect the use of the village's public services, including fire and police departments. I've been arguing this case for years and was taken back when Mr. Horton stated that when he started looking into it, he was told that no one had actually inquired up north around the Tallahassee area about this before. My research has come up with the same thing that Mr. Horton did, that there are different ordinances. If legislation is required, I hope that you will follow through with the lobbyists to ensure the village collects the millions in property taxes that we have lost. I would also like to call into question the scheduling of tonight's meeting. In the past, Tuesday meetings were labeled regular village council meetings, and Thursday meetings were labeled land use village council meetings. That meant that village business on Tuesday and land use on Thursday. Tonight's agenda has 2 quasi-judicial hearings involving land issue. Thursday's meeting is titled now, Continuation of February 11th Council Meeting, if needed. Last month, this council decided that tonight's schedule was too busy to put something as important as filling an empty council seat, which was required by village charter. Maybe scheduling quasi-judicial land uses on Thursday would give you more time on Tuesday meetings to discuss many issues facing this village. There are many, many issues besides those including land and development. Let's take the time to discuss those projects that affect everybody's future, like sewer, the fills, bus stops, just to name a few. We all need to use all of our time wisely and efficiently. Thank you.
Thank you. Marnie?
Thank you, Joe.
Next is John Wallace.
Thank you, John Wallace, Plantation Key. I'd like to address the council about the council. And I typically watch this on TV. But I've noticed something over the last few meetings, particularly the last meeting, that I found disturbing. I don't know a lot of people here, but I know you have some regulars that come up and speak. And it's obvious that they aren't always, not that they're not appreciated, but they can sometimes be contentious with the council. And particularly at the last meeting, I want the council to understand that we can hear you on TV, that I don't think people can hear up here in the audience, but you can hear it on TV. In the last meeting, when some people came up and talked, I heard sighing, snickering, and mumbling under your breaths for when someone was talking to you, someone that I think the council didn't agree with. I think that is very unattractive for the council, and I'm requesting that when you invite people to come up and talk to you, that you pay attention and be respectful. And I know it's difficult. I know how it is to be on a local board like this and you feel like everybody's coming to attack you. Not everybody, but a lot of people, it feels like an attack maybe. But they're expressing their opinion. And it's important to me as a taxpayer that I can express my opinion and not have to worry about whether the council, while I'm talking, is sighing or snickering at me while I'm doing so. So I'm asking you to be mindful of that and to just treat your fellow townspeople here with respect. Thank you.
Thank you, Marnie.
Thank you, John.
Let me double check on Zoom, but I think that's it. Yep, all done.
All done? Okay, public comment is now closed. Next is consent agenda. No,
Council,
We're
we-
pulling them. We're pulling one for
Yep.
tab. Okay.
Yeah,
go
we're
ahead.
into the consent portion of the agenda. These items are of a routine nature, and council members have reviewed these items in advance and sought the advice of staff as they felt necessary. There will be one vote on the consent items, which today are items 4, 6, 7, and 8. If anyone would like to pull an item from consent, he or she should state so now, other than 5.
I already stated I wanted to pull 5, so, okay.
Okay, so do I have a motion for the other part of the consent agenda? Is there anybody who wants to say anything?
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, I guess we do public comment? Yes. Public comment, Marnie?
Yes, Van Cadenhead.
Okay.
I'd like to speak about the library bathroom. I think it's, I believe that Mr. Friedman hit it on the head. $110,000 for Christmas lights is the bathroom project. And I appreciate that we need that, and we need the facility down there, and it's a great facility, and I hope you approve it tonight. But keep in mind that that's a lot of money, and it's a lot of money for Christmas lights. And we had a 3-year agreement that Henry got us into that was like $100,000 a year for 3 years that we've been into. And I don't, it's been slightly, to be sarcastic, it's been slightly overdone. So I hope that we can get some sense into that and save some money for worthwhile projects like what's going in at the library. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Van. Marnie?
There's no one else signed up for
Okay.
this.
So Deb, do we vote first, or since you just have a comment, do you want to?
No, you would vote first, and then we'll take tab 5
All
separately.
right, so do I have a motion?
You had a
I
motion?
know, so Marnie, call the roll. Okay.
Vice Mayor Don Horton,
Yes.
Councilmember Deb Gillis,
Yes.
Councilmember Steve Friedman,
Yes.
and Mayor Sharon Mahoney.
Yes.
The motion passes 4-0.
Okay, so,
Can we do tab 5 now?
yep.
Okay, so,
I'll read the title
oh,
first.
right, sorry.
Tab 5 is a resolution of the Village Council of Islamorada Village of Islands, Florida, approving Amendment 1 to Agreement KG002 between the State of Florida Department of Environmental Protection and the Village related to the Florida Keys Stewardship Act funding, authorizing village officials to take all steps necessary to finalize the implementation of the terms and conditions of the amendment, authorizing the village manager to execute the amendment, and providing for an effective date.
So my comment was that this is concerning the Lower Matacumbe Canal Culvert Restoration Project. It's related to clean water, and staff has done a great job, and the councils in the past. Now we are up to slightly over $4 million in grant money to do this project, and we're still finding money. It's a $5.2 million project. But there's other ways of paying for it besides the 4.1 that we currently have. There's other money that we have, but it's all grant money. It's not coming out of the citizens' pockets to get this done. I just wanted everybody to know that we got a $4 million grant to work on this.
Go ahead, Don.
I kudos to Peter for the work that he's doing in there. This culvert is going to go from the Iroquois Canal over to the canal that is by Safety Harbor. It's going to allow water to flow from the ocean to the bay and clean both of those canals that are dead-end canals. It's grant money that we're getting for this, and it's just that the next step that we continue to do in Islamorada to clean our nearshore waters. And Peter, this is a wonderful program. And thank you to the Boy Scouts as well, because they're letting us go onto their property and actually pick up where the directional boring stops and the trenching starts, and trench through their property to make this happen. And it's just a really good thing that the Boy Scout and the community got behind. So Peter, thank you very much, and you ought to be really proud of this.
Yes.
Steve, anything?
Motion to approve.
Second?
I'll second. Go ahead.
Marnie,
sure.
would you call the roll?
Okay.
Public comment first.
Oh,
Oh, sorry.
Marty, is there any public comment?
I don't have anyone signed up for this. Oh, excuse me, we do have a hand up on Zoom.
Okay.
Okay. Caller on the iPhone, go ahead and unmute. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, it's Robert Moser, Lower Matacumbe Key Property Association. And thank you very much, Council and Pete Frezza, for getting this through. It's something that we thought would never happen. It's been going on for, I don't know, decades since it was written into a pamphlet that a series of culverts connected to our canals would help flush them out. So on behalf of our association, we'd like to thank you very much.
Anyone else?
Thank you, Robert.
Okay, so now, Marnie, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Steve Friedman,
Yes.
Councilmember Deb Gillis,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Don Horton,
Yes.
and Mayor Sharon Mahoney.
Yes,
That motion passes 4-0.
and great job, Peter, seriously. Okay, moving on to tab 9.
9, yes.
Go ahead.
Tab 9 is a resolution of the Village Council of Islamorada Village of Islands, Florida, approving the final rankings and recommendations of the RFP 24-19 Evaluation Committee for selection of a contractor for the Lower Matacumbe Canals Culvert Restoration Project, authorizing the village manager and village attorney to negotiate an agreement or agreements for the project, authorizing the village manager to execute the agreements, authorizing the village manager to expend budgeted funds, and providing an effective date.
Mr. Frezza, would you come up, please?
Good evening, council, and thank you for that. So as you are aware, the village has been moving forward with the canal restoration project to install these culvert pipes under a number of roadways on Lower Matacumbe to connect the whole dead-end canal system on the southern part of Lower Matacumbe. We've been in the planning, design, and permitting phases of this project for 4 years. So we're now at the point where we're looking to secure a contractor for the construction of the project. We did put the project out to bid with a request for proposals in late October of last year. That was RFP 24-19. We received 2 proposals on that RFP. An evaluation committee was appointed by the village manager to review and rank the 2 proposals. That was completed. Those 2 proposals came from LPS and Adventure Environmental Incorporated. The evaluation committee found that both of those proposers were highly qualified to provide the services to complete this job. The total cost proposed by LPS for this work was $8.99 million. The proposed cost from Adventure Environmental was $5.2 million. I should note that we did have an engineer's opinion of probable cost completed before we issued the RFP, and that cost was $5.37 million. So Adventure Environmental's bid was very close to the engineer's estimate, even slightly under. So the evaluation committee did rank Adventure Environmental the highest, and we are recommending them to perform this construction project for us. So the resolution you have before you this evening, that does approve the evaluation committee's recommendation of Adventure Environmental, and it also authorizes the manager and the attorney to execute agreements agreements with Adventure Environmental at a later time. We don't have an agreement here before you tonight. That'll come at a later meeting once we finish the negotiations, hopefully with Adventure Environmental. And staff is proposing recommendation to approve and adopt the resolution. And thank you.
Any
Happy to answer questions.
Any questions, Deb? Don?
It looks like you've pretty much found the funding for all of this, and your application to the DEP is in the works, and we're hopeful that the DEP stands behind it, so I'd make a motion to approve.
Well, Steve, do you have anything you want to say?
I'll second.
Okay, do we have to open public comment up?
Yep.
See? Is there any? Marnie?
No, there is not.
Okay, so we have a first and a second. Would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Steve Friedman,
Yes.
excuse me, Vice Mayor Don Horton.
Yes.
Councilmember Deb Gillis.
Yes.
And Mayor Sharon Mahoney.
Yes.
The motion passes 4-0.
Thank you,
Thank
Peter.
you.
Peter, again, good job.
Good job.
Okay, moving on to tab 10. I believe that's you, Jennifer?
Yep, it is. Let me read the title. It's a resolution of the Village Council of Islamorada, Village of Islands, Florida, approving non-residential building permit allocation system rankings and awarding non-residential building permit allocations for Q4 of 2024 and providing for an effective date.
Good evening. I'm here this evening for the approval of the Q4 2024 non-residential building permit allocations. Pursuant to Village Code Section 30-475, the Village Council is required to act after reviewing the building permit allocation system evaluation report. Pursuant to the Resolution 24-05-37, a total of 20,261 square feet of non-residential floor area was available in 2024. Additionally, 15,929 square feet that had previously been allocated was returned to the village, leaving the available total at 36,190 square feet. There have been no allocations awarded in 2024. There is one application for non-residential BPAS in the queue awaiting an award for Q4. The proposed resolution approves that non-residential building permit allocation system ranking and award pursuant to the Comprehensive Plan Policy 1-3.1.11 and Village Code Section 30-476. Non-residential applications were evaluated, scored, and ranked according to the criteria outlined in the Village Code Section 30-476. One application for the non-residential BPAS category is recommended for approval and identified below. The total non-residential floor area requested by the application is 256 square feet. If approved, 35,934 square feet of non-residential floor area would remain in the BPAS allocation. So to be clear, the applicant is LAH Islander LLC. The proposal is for a tiki hut on their pool deck, and it's, again, total floor area requested is 256 square feet that would be approved if approved this evening. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Council? Don? Deb? Steve?
So the 256 is going to be taken out of the 36,190,
Correct.
right? And we haven't done that since when?
The last, I was in 2023, I don't have the exact quarter, but the last one we granted was in 2023.
And nothing else in the queue for that?
Not that I'm aware of. I haven't seen one.
Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and open up public comment.
We have no one signed up for this item.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All right, Marnie, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Deb Gillis?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Don Horton?
Yeah.
Councilmember Steve Friedman?
Yes.
And Mayor Sharon Mahoney.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Thank you.
Okay, moving to tab 11.
Tab 11 is the resolution of the Village Council of Islamorada, Village of Islands, Florida, approving the appointment of Alan Cohen as interim village manager, approving and authorizing execution of an employment agreement with Mr. Cohen for services as the interim village manager, and providing for an effective date. Council, I also, the proposed interim village manager agreement was circulated to you all recently. It was after the deadline, but I believe the public agenda has been amended to include that as well. It includes everything in it that Mr. Cohen is seeking to serve as the interim village manager. He worked primarily with my partner Allison, who is on Zoom today. We talked about her being available should you all have any questions of her related to the agreement or the discussions with Mr. Cohen.
Okay. Council, anybody want to start? Don, Deb? Go ahead.
You know, the other night when we voted on going through this, I wanted to see what the expectations was Mr. Cohen and what it was going to cost the village to have an interim manager. After looking at what was, I guess, negotiated, although I don't know that we necessarily negotiate, we listen to what the person's demands are, and it's up to us really to negotiate. Y'all make sure the terms are correct and legal and legitimate, but not necessarily argue with them about, you know, how much they want or, you know, how much per diems they would need or the money that it would cost in order to have them do that. You're doing the legal side of the world, right?
Yeah, I mean, in this instance, primarily, yes, because of the short turnaround. If we had a little longer turnaround, there might have been a little more ability. But with such a quick turnaround, we needed to at least get something in front of you so we know what he's seeking, and so you realistically know what the village would be, the contract would look like with it.
Which was kind of the reason why I went along with everybody and said, yeah, let's go on and negotiate this. After looking at what the numbers actually are and realizing that we have somebody completely capable and competent to continue doing the fill-in job here and be our interim manager, that it would take away staff time to try to bring somebody else up to speed and to get them to know even how to be an interim manager in Islamorada. I just think that, and that certainly one thing that we didn't get to do last time was even hear from Sheila. We kind of went right through that. So first thing I'd like to say is my position at this point is I would like to keep Sheila where she's at. I would like to not have disruption for the staff. I would like to see Sheila continue to be our interim manager. I would like to save this village a lot of money between what we're currently paying Sheila to be the fill-in gal or the interim manager and not hire somebody coming from out of town that we're going to have to pay an enormous amount of money with, realizing that really we're even getting a double dip on this thing because Sheila's still our building official and she's still being paid out of our building fund. So we're actually not taking that much money out of the general fund. So I'm here to listen to the rest of y'all, but my recommendation, and I don't, until I hear from y'all, I won't make a motion, but my motion would be to hear from Sheila and then have her just continue to be our interim manager. So, step back.
Deb? Steve?
Go ahead.
Go.
Go ahead, Steve.
Oh, come on, you guys.
Okay. So, I think Sheila is very qualified, so don't take anything to heart. I think we have lots of important things coming up that a previous manager in some big cities, big areas, has got experience with that could help us. I think that the fact that we have the comp plan that we're working on, and I know Jennifer's got most of that, but it's pressure going on and things happening. We've got the federal grant money, the FQIP money, that's needing to have some attention because they've extended the program by $100 million and we need to get our share. There's state funds that's being reallocated that we need to negotiate to make sure we keep getting our share. We have the search for the manager that, a manager that had, an interim manager that had several years of experience as manager may be able to help guide us and find some ideas for us. The fact that he said that he didn't need or want the housing allowance, he's trying to work with us on this. I don't think that the manager's search is going to be as short as we'd like it to be. And I would just be more comfortable with Mr. Cohen.
Steve?
I tend to agree with Deb wholeheartedly. I really don't have much to add. It's a little bit sensitive because I think that Sheila's doing a great job, but I think at this stage it's important to get in someone that does this for a living to help us through this process, and have someone that can really concentrate on that work and let Sheila do the work that she does in her department that's already, trying to do whatever they can and I think that her being in there is the most important position for her.
Okay, well, I hear Mr. Dalton, you're right now, because I agree with Don. I want somebody who's physically here, and he wants to do a lot of this remotely. That's a problem for me. The amount of money is also a lot of money. I think, Sheila, I would like for you to tell us, are you okay?
Yes, I am. My intention when I volunteered was to bridge that gap until we got a permanent manager. I weighed all the options of where I could spend my time, how I had to spend my time, and my staff is fully capable. I will still be here for the maybe very hard decisions that might need to be made on the building department staff, but it runs pretty smoothly. As far as some of the things that Councilwoman Gillis brought up, I have worked with Gray Robinson and have gotten all the appropriation paperwork to them for this legislative session. The FQIP staff has been working with that meeting as well. So I'm staying on top of these items, whether you may know that or not.
You know, if this was a permanent manager we were interviewing, I'd be looking at this differently.
Sure.
But I don't see where the time is going to take him to get up to speed. The fact that he doesn't want to be here all the time, or at least he wants to work remotely, I have an issue with that. And I am with Dawn that we stay with you and just keep looking. I think, I talked to Jamie, and I don't know if she's watching tonight. She's on. Okay, about how the search was going, and if we have utilized everything we can to get the manager's search out there. So, would you like to?
That was a question I was going to pose to council as well, is do we want to go forward with, we have actually 3 pre-qualified candidates for the manager's position. Do we want to move forward with those 3? Or do we want to leave it open for a little bit longer? Do we want staff to maybe move forward with some maybe cold calling? And in the meantime, the RFP is out and it closes at the end of the month.
Okay.
We can go.
February?
February 28th, yes, it closes. Then we can rank those, and at that time, maybe we have some more. We can move into some cold calling before we actually move into a contract with an executive search firm.
Don?
So that's one of the good things that we have, and the advantage that Sheila has with us right now is Jamie, and you brought her up. Her many years of experience in HR, and I think that Jamie is quite capable, instead of us going out to a headhunter, which hasn't really done us that good in the past, and have our staff under Sheila's direction, if that's approved, to have Jamie start doing those cold calls, which is the same thing a headhunter would do. We advertise in the same places the headhunters would, and ultimately comes back to us anyway. So I think that we'd be in great shape if we did that.
Deb, you want to say anything?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Well, yeah, I just not sure where I want to start. First of all, on looking for a permanent manager, I personally would like to see the applications that are coming in that have been vetted to whatever degree that the staff finds necessary. But I don't want to get 50 at a time, I guess is my point, is I'd like to see them piecemealed out to us, and so that we're all working folks.
We can arrange that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, we can
If we've
arrange
got
that.
them and we're looking at
If we got
them.
them and looking at them, then instead of we getting a book with 50 or
Yeah, I
whatever
agree.
in it, and we have a week and a half to look at it.
Got it.
You probably would like that too.
Yeah.
So that's my thoughts on that, and I would like them to do as much as possible. I'm not all that crazy about going with a headhunter, but we need to be able to find the best candidate possible, and So, yeah, if cold calls to reach out to other cities or whatever that we're doing is fine with me. As for the interim manager, I just believe that after speaking with Mr. Cohen, I wouldn't have said that, you know, I talked to 5 or 6 of the people that were on that list, and there was a couple of them that I would go, oh, no. But somehow Mr. Cohen made a different impression on me, and that he would be helpful in us finding a manager that we can live with for more than 6 months.
I just, you know.
And that, yes, of course it's about money, but it's not always about money. We've already been paying this, and I just think he has a lot of qualifications that would help us move forward. I am very pleased to know, because I didn't know all of what you just said, Sheila, and I'd like to hear more about that. But some of those, the FQIP stuff and stuff, that's important money. And for a long time, we've received anything from $2 to $3 million a year from the feds, and we just had an item in front of us where we've gotten, it's been piecemealed out, but we've gotten $4 million from some of those, and those are important things to not let fall. And I'm not saying that you are. I'm just saying that there's lots of moving parts on the table. And I just believe that Mr. Cohen's from South Florida, not originally, but he's been in South Florida a long time, so I think he understands South Florida better than some of the other people that we've talked to. I'll be quiet for a while.
Okay, Steve, anything else?
I would just add that it seems like this was the process that we all agreed upon in the first place, to look for this interim manager through the League of Cities. We found someone that is exceedingly professional. He lives and runs in those circles, and I think that's going to be a tremendous advantage for us to find a competent village manager. And because we're already finding that we're having difficulty, whether it's hiring a headhunting firm or getting applicants in. So, you know, I stand by what Deb says. I really think that Mr. Cohen will do a fine job.
I move that we table this until the next meeting. There's no urgency on this, and we'll have a 5th council member that we can not have to sit here and go through another time.
I should open general public comment before we do this.
Well, if you're going to move to continue it, you don't
Okay.
need to, because we'll have the discussion at the March meeting. But, so there's a motion on the table to continue to March.
Deb, do you-
I will second that, but the paperwork that we wrote said that we had to have a date by February the 28th. And
Yeah, well, I mean,
so
part
all
of
of
that.
that needs to be readjusted, and Mr. Cohen reached out to him and make sure that. that's
Exactly. Those
cool
are
with
Scrivener's
him.
things that we can adjust and deal with and, you know, make sure that it's still on the table with Mr. Cohen as well.
Okay, all right, and in
And
that
would
case,
Mr.
I'll second the motion.
And would Mr. Cohen have a chance to also
To do what?
reply and,
Reply to what?
well, to participate?
Well, if we're tabling
Yeah.
it-
Mr. Cohen
Yeah.
is on Zoom right now.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
I would hope he would, yes.
He is on Zoom right now? Does he have anything he'd like to say?
He has his hand up, so I presume he does.
You want Sheila to speak yet? Didn't you?
I'm sorry, what?
It's your call.
Can we hear from
Of
Mr. Cohen
course,
before we move?
These two are having a conversation, so I was sort of, go ahead. Let Mr. Cohen speak.
Okay, Mr. Cohen, go ahead and unmute, and you're up.
Good evening, everyone. I'm on Zoom tonight primarily to make myself available for questions. Mayor, the one and only thing that I wanted to comment on was a possible misconception that I want to primarily do this role remotely. That is not the case, and I'm sorry if I was responsible in any miscommunication along those lines. As I spoke to the legal staff and explained to them, my intent is to be there as close to full-time as I can. There are weeks that my wife travels for business, and those weeks would be more limited presence. But other than that, my not only intent but my desire is to be on site. So I just wanted to clarify that one point. Other than that, unless you have any questions, I'll be quiet.
Thank you very much. And does anybody on the council have a question for him?
Mr. Cohen, it's Deb Gillis. I'm not sure it's a question. Thank you for bringing up the remote, because I did mean to speak to that and ask if any conclusions had come to, because our communication in our book is left blank yet. So just to clarify that you would not intend on doing the majority of the work from remote work, you would intend on doing the majority from in-house.
Absolutely, yes. It's my intent to work as often as I can on site, and my one and only consideration is making sure that our children have at least one parent in the household. As long as my wife's not traveling, I'm yours as much as you want.
Yeah, I don't think we're offering babysitting services, sorry.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you for clarifying that, because that is an important point, because that was also what ruled out some of your other colleagues on that piece of paper, is they wanted to do it all remote. And I don't think we have a city that can do that. We have a lot of contentious things that needs to be hands-on pretty much. Thank you.
Anybody else?
I'm just afraid by tabling this, it sort of adversely affects Mr. Cohen and his scheduling, what he needs to do and get things in place. So I'd like to see this move along.
Well,
Public comment?
wait a second, you guys done? Can we have open public comment, or do we? If we're tabling it, we don't.
Yeah, if you're
Correct?
continuing, you don't have to.
Okay, so then we had a first and a second, so I would have Marnie call the roll, and then if it doesn't pass, we'll have public comment, correct? Okay,
Correct.
Marnie?
Okay, Vice Mayor Don Horton.
Yes.
Councilmember Deb Gillis.
Yes.
Councilmember Steve Friedman.
No?
And Mayor Sherry Mahoney.
Yes.
The motion passes 3-1.
Okay, so, I guess we move on to tab.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen, for
Thank you.
joining us this evening.
Yep. Okay.
When is
so-
it being tabled to?
Excuse me?
It was to table,
Until-
motion was till the March meeting, so March 18th is the next meeting.
Okay. Okay,
Can
so,
I ask one question real
Certainly.
quick before we move on?
Certainly.
The applicants that we already have, the 3 that we have,
Mm-hmm.
do you want HR to send them to you for review at this point, or do you want to wait till we have a few more?
I would say feed them to us as you get them,
Yeah.
that way it's not circuit
Vet
overload.
them, make sure they're
Is
qualified
that
and get them to us.
okay with you? If you would, please, thank you,
Okay,
Sheila.
sure
You
will.
okay with that, Steve? We can start studying them now, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to tab 12, then I believe it is, correct, John?
Yes, we're into the ordinances portion of the agenda. Tab 12 is an ordinance of Islamorada Village of Islands, Florida, creating Chapter 4 Animals of the Village Code to adopt regulations relating to animals and animal owners, providing for the repeal of all code provisions and ordinances inconsistent with this ordinance, providing for severability, providing for codification, and providing for an effective date. So I'll get into this because you guys are probably saying, where did this come from? So really what this item is seeking to do, honestly, is to maintain the status quo. So presently, the village does not have an animal control ordinance. Monroe County has an animal control ordinance, which applies within the village. And the reason why it applies is because we have not enacted our own, so the county, since we have not filled that field, the county can come in. The applicability of the Monroe County Animal Control Ordinance was recently challenged in a court case. where there was a complaint lodged against someone for violation of the animal control ordinance, and it was brought before the county court judge, and the court ruled upon that, the applicability, and did in fact say that the Monroe County Animal Control Ordinance does apply within the village. I understand the defendant in that case has filed an appeal, so that issue, it's settled as of now, but obviously anything that's on appeal could become unsettled or could go the other way. So in an abundance of caution, since this issue was raised and could potentially, if the defendant were successful, could potentially leave the village without an animal control ordinance and without animal control, we brought this ordinance forward to ratify the applicability of the county animal control ordinance by creating chapter 4 in our own code, which matches up with chapter 4 in the county code. So you might, again, you might ask, why are we doing that? There's really two scenarios that depend on the outcome of the appeal. Number one, honestly, so if the defendant's unsuccessful, so if they appeal, the appellate court says, no, we agree with the trial court, then frankly, the county ordinance still applies, and this ordinance really is just duplicative. So it's really of no moment whether we did it or didn't. But the downside or the potential issue for the village really comes in is if the defendant is successful. In that case, like I said, the village would have no animal control ordinance within its jurisdiction. So what does that mean? That would mean that Monroe County Animal Control would have no authority here, regardless of what the issue is. I know that you all have been discussed about chickens, but this isn't just limited to chickens. This is animal control. So this is dangerous dogs. This is the entire ordinance. This isn't just chickens, although I will, admittedly, the chickens were the issue in the case that brought this about. So if the village then wanted to have animal control, again, this is if the defendant is successful, we would need to create our own ordinance. We may need to employ our own animal control department or potentially contract with someone to do it because I'll say it's unclear at best whether the current county animal control would enforce a Isla Mirada specific ordinance under their contract with the county. And if they don't, that's all part of an agreement that the animal control has with the county. So if we don't fit in that agreement, we can't, we don't do it. Or if they say, listen, that's outside our jurisdiction, we're not viewing it within the contract, we need to go get our own. So, again, it's really just to try to maintain the status quo because the county ordinance has been applicable here for decades. It's just, whether somebody complains or not is the issue of whether or not it's actually implicated. So if we have no animal control ordinance, it would really have wide-ranging impacts. Like I said, I understand that people are here to talk about chickens, but this is more than chickens. This is, animals like, an opossum, raccoons. Things like that are covered under the animal control ordinance. We'd have no way, if the animal control ordinance goes away, we'd have no way to help neglected or mistreated animals. We'd have no way to deal with animals suspected of rabies. There'd be no restrictions on animals running at large on people's property, because that's all built into the animal control ordinance. And if it goes away, then all of that stuff goes away. So, there's still, criminal prohibitions on things like cockfighting, but, we lose restrictions on things like dealing with dangerous dogs. So again, that's why we brought this before you all to try to ensure that there's no interruption in animal control regulations if the court ultimately does rule against, or the appeals court ultimately does rule against the county. So, and we've been working with the county attorney's office on this to see if we can build in any local exceptions, like chickens, for example. And, because listen, we are our own unique municipality. We're not the county, we're our own unique area. But I don't have an answer to that yet. I'm working with them and we're trying to see if we can build that in where it would still fall within the county contract and we could still have it, apply and have, our local exceptions dealt with. But in the meantime, we need to make sure we have something. So, this was at least the first best effort to make sure that the status quo stays, that we don't have a gap in animal control for anything. And if we are able to, number one, make any local exceptions, we can bring back an ordinance that makes exceptions, and and we can still hopefully fall under the county provision. If we're not able to, then obviously that's a policy decision that the council would need to make. If it says, listen, we don't want to follow the Monroe County Code, we want our own, okay, but we'll need to, the council will need to understand that means we may need to employ an entire animal control department or contract with somebody to do that. I mean, the county has the shelter, the county has the contract. We don't have any of that stuff. So again, this is, it's not just about chickens. I know that's what has kind of prompted this to the forefront. It's really about making sure we don't have that void where there's no regulation on animal control. And so that's what the intent of this is to make sure we have that and make sure that the services that the Monroe County Animal Control provides are still available to us.
Okay. So, do we want to have a discussion first, or do we want to open public comment? What do you guys want to do?
Have a quick discussion.
I was going to say, you want to do public comment first and then come back to the table?
Go on, Steve.
Yeah, I'm
Doesn't matter.
first of all, I think this is a first reading, so nothing that happens tonight is set in stone, right?
Correct. Honestly, on first reading, the only thing it does is it just moves it to second reading.
Right.
Yes.
I said this in the briefing meeting. This is a rural community. We've got our fun little quirks and habits. I'd say I'm a little bit hesitant to adopt this code. I don't seem to know of really any issues that have deemed the necessity for the county to come in. Matter of fact, I'm sure Roger Young could help out getting any mad dogs out there, because he'd probably scare the dogs. So I'm a little bit hesitant of adopting this ordinance. I'd love to hear from the people and everybody else what you have to say. I'm not glued to any side.
Go ahead.
I'm down with you on that. I've been brooding over this all day.
Aren't you funny?
Exactly. And I don't want to run afoul with the folks that are in this village. Exactly. But I'm not going to chicken out on this one either.
Oh, brother.
Look, we are,
And
you're
I have to
exactly
follow
right. We're
this.
a quirky community. There's people in this town that love their chickens. And so as I kept getting phone call after email after text today, thanks to Craig, I went on and called the county administrator. And I asked the county administrator if, we're getting a service that we pay for, just like our property appraiser, a tax collector, the circuit court, those things that the county is brought in animal control. And we adopted the county's code as our code until we amended it. And so we still have a code if we don't have this code right now, right?
Not as it relates to animal control, because that came after the current, Monroe County Animal Control came in 2006.
But didn't
we
that-
adopted it as of December 31st, 1997.
But didn't it already have a code on animal control? It's just that they changed the code to include chickens at that point. But
There was a code provision apparently in 1979 that I have not been able to get my hands on. But
Right.
as I understand the argument that was made by the defendants in that case is that the Monroe County Code does not apply at all.
Okay.
I have in the paperwork that I have seen in the docket, I didn't see a distinction between whatever the code was in 1979, and again, I haven't even seen that code despite trying to get a hold of it, and the 2006 code.
But at this point, the judge ruled that we are underneath that code.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So
that's
I'm
why I
going to
say
assume
it-
that at this point, the judge is right, and we do have a code, and it is an animal control code, and we are subject to the provisions of that code at this point.
Absolutely. Right now, the current Monroe County Animal Control Ordinance applies and is enforceable within Islamorada according to that judge's order.
So I think after my discussion with the county administrator, and with her being open to possibly being able to do a carve-out for Islamorada, I would like to see if Sheila, as our interim manager, can work with the county and see if the county can talk to Key Largo Animal Control, who's a contract employee of the county, and see if we can do just a carve-out that's just for chickens. And if we can reach an agreement with the county, then we can continue on with having the county's animal control taking care of all of those other rabid animals and all of those other things that may be a hazard to us. And they just not bust people for having caged chickens in their backyard so that they can enjoy their chicken. I actually got an email from a lady today that got a certification from University of Florida to be an urban chicken certified person. She's that serious about having her chickens. And so if that's okay, like Steve says, I think we ought to just keep going with what we've got right now while we're working with the county to see if we can work out something. I don't want to lose animal control. I don't think we need to have our own dog pound and we don't need to start hiring, people and trucks and more staff in this village. But I think that maybe there's something we could work out with the county.
Yeah, and that was why I mentioned that I've been speaking with the county attorneys about it. I don't have that answer. I mean, if our next meeting is March 18th, I would anticipate that we would have an answer before then. So honestly, what could be done and what I would ask is if we approve this today on first reading, and I understand what you're saying, it might, if we can't, depending on what the answer is, it might not pass, or on second reading, it might pass with an amendment carve-out that allows for chickens within the village. I would assume not roosters. That's usually people don't like roosters.
I wouldn't think we'd want roosters, right?
What I can do is, if we can, I can present you all with language for a carve-out that would allow for chickens if we are able to. If we're not, then I can report back on second reading. We're not able to for whatever the reason are, and then you all can make your decision as to whether you want to approve it on second reading or not, if we're not able to carve it out.
Will you take eggs as payment for doing that work?
Absolutely.
At the price of eggs, heck yeah. Well,
I don't know, that may be over the dollar
I'd like to
limit.
see-
Deb?
So actually, I would at least like to pass it on first read, with the idea that if we can't work something out, because I have lots of notes, and I've talked to those people also, or at least texted back and forth with them. And we are quirky, and that's part of what the Keys is all about, and especially Islamorada. And there's things that we need to do, but at the end of the day, I don't think that we want a animal control division. So to pass it on first reading until we get some better answers, but to push towards trying to negotiate something that we can have a carve out for Islamorada, or do our own ordinance, and they'll support our own ordinance, whatever the right terms are in that. I think it's important that we do move ahead. I have had animal control out a couple times on my property for dog bites. And they weren't big dogs or mean dogs or rabid dogs, but I needed somebody to be able to help with that. I can't do that, and it's not the police's job. So it doesn't happen often, I don't believe, in Islamorada, but we do need that ability. For the fact that we have never taken that control, or taken that step to at least say, yes, Monroe County, you are going to be our provider for this. I think it's important that we resolve that. It's been going on a lot of years. The basic things that I would like to see if we can get this done is that backyard chickens are allowed and that there's no roosters and that they have to stay home, that they can't roam free, and maybe something about that we can do something about the ones that are roaming free because they're starting to get out of hand.
Well, that's the thing that the county doesn't do, though.
I know.
If they're
but-
running free, they don't care. It's when you're
I know,
actually
it's
taking
crazy.
care of your chickens.
When you're taking
they're
care of
gonna
it,
bust
it
you.
doesn't make any
That's the
sense.
part
It
that-
doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah,
And I'm not sure that it's not because of the fact that it's a county contract, that it shouldn't be the county administrator talking to the provider as opposed to Sheila. I don't
That's
have a
why I asked
problem.
that Sheila talk to the county administrator.
Oh, I thought you asked to talk to
No, ma'am.
the
Talk to the
provider.
county
I'm
administrator.
sorry.
John
I
do the legal
misunderstood
side,
you.
Sheila do the
Yeah,
administrative side and work it, see if we can work it.
And also, if for some reason we can't do a carve-out, we can also, I mean, Sheila and I can also talk to them about maybe the county amending their code to allow for chickens.
There you go.
And then, if we can't do
Because-
the carve-out, then, okay, maybe the answer is let's allow chickens throughout the county. And I don't know what the answer is for that,
Well,
but I'm just saying that we
the
will
words-
pursue every option, I will.
the
Sharon,
words-
Sharon is the one that's had a really long relationship with that animal control.
Yes, I have.
So I think you're
The
the
words,
expert on.
the words that I heard
Hopefully I'm
is
not
that the
upsetting
county wasn't really enforcing the chicken ordinance. And it is about chickens, but it's not.
Madam Mayor.
That they weren't really enforcing it and that this all came about because there was an actual complaint, which is sometimes the way the code reads is that it's enforced when there's a complaint, not as an active status. So I personally would like to pass it on first read. Steve?
I would like to hear from you, but before we hear it, I'd like to hear from you and then the public before we do that.
I do have a long history with animal control for what I do as my therapy, my cat rescue. And Marcia is, and I know she's watching, and I had a very long conversation with her this past Saturday, and I've been talking to her about it. She is here's a good one, ruler of the roost, where no one, she does make the
really
rules.
full of it tonight.
She does make the rules, and she does not want chickens. And she basically told me, if we do not do what Monroe County does as far as the chickens, we can build our own animal shelter, we can have our own animal control, and she'll just bypass Alamorada. And she does have the ability to do that. Having said that, I have been able to reason with her on other things, and I would like you to have the ability, but this conversation is not just with that woman, it needs to be with Marcia as well, because she is the person who does make all the rules. And she might be an employee, but let's just be honest. She's been there over 27 years. Nobody wants that job. It's a horrible job. I have spent many a day at that facility doing our own spaying and neutering and bringing injured animals in there. And no one really bucks what this woman wants. Now, will she bend? Maybe. It's the way you approach her. And my thought on this is, and Ty is a very good friend of mine, and we've had this conversation. If she says no, I'm sorry, it's going to be no, because unless you guys want to get fitted for animal control outfits, we're going to, I know. And so if she says no, so I encourage Sheila to not only talk to the county administrator, but you need to involve Marcia in it as well.
I think the county administrator needs to talk to Marcia.
Either or. I'm
Yes.
just saying you need to include her, because whether or not
Yes.
anybody wants to admit it, what she decides is going to be what happens. I'm just telling you.
But at the end of the day, because I think I'm hearing this correct, we don't want animal control, we're going to end up doing what Monroe County does.
Yes, ma'am.
At the end of the day. Maybe we can convince them through Marcia, whatever, but to change their code if that be
That's
the
not gonna
case.
happen.
Well, yeah, well, no.
Just talk to us.
But
Yeah, I know.
maybe, whatever. But because of that, it doesn't hurt to go ahead and pass this on first
I
read, because
agree.
we're going to do it one way or the
But-
other. And hopefully, we can get what we want.
And John is correct on everything he said, told you guys. It doesn't,
Yeah, he
it
is.
I know it's the chickens, because I know there's been phone calls about them, complaints about your guys' chickens, to be honest. I know about that. And, but it's not just the chickens. It's gonna fall through for everything.
It does.
And
It
so
does.
we have to be very careful how we do this. I do encourage our lawyer and our manager here to proceed and to see if we can come to some negotiation, because I'm not against it. I'd be all for it. I'm not going to say my neighbors have chickens because they might be watching, but, you know, animals are, like for me, not just animals. You fall in love with them, you take care of them, they're with you for their life, is the way I look at it. And there's no difference between a dog, a cat, or a chicken if you take care of an animal. So I do encourage us to see what we can work out. So having said
I
that.
do too.
Having said that, can we open public comment? So
Let's do
Ty
it.
can get up here and tell me all the reasons why?
Yep.
Okay, morning.
First up is Ty Harris.
There you go. There you go.
Imagine that.
There you go.
He's
don't-
going to flock all the way
Yeah,
there.
I don't want him to
right?
get cocky with, don't get cocky with us now.
Well, thank God I'm not challenging the cockfighting ordinance from 1981. You owe me $20 now. So again, my name is Ty Harris with the law firm of Ty Harris PA on Plantation Key. And I've been living chickens for the last 3 to 4 weeks when I was contacted by Cheryl McBay and the McBay family, who I represent, and was exposed to the exciting world of animal control. And I agree with everything that Sharon said. Nobody wants that job. It's a horrible job. It takes somebody with special fortitude to actually do it. And this is not about trying to challenge the county's ability to enforce its animal control ordinance. In fact, if you'd been at the trial, that is not what I said. What we said was that our code in Islamorada is very clear, that we, as the county code stood on December 31st, 1997, that is the code that fills in the gaps for Islamorada. And so all the dangerous dog, all the rabid raccoons, everybody's already in that code. They've been in that code since the 1979 code. What happened is that the county didn't address chickens and horses and livestock until 2013. And then that's when the code changed. And nobody here would know that because we really didn't have an occasion to know that. But before the McBays got chickens, and I think this is very important because we've had a running dialogue about what's legal and what's fair. I mean, this council's been very attenuated to that discussion with me as we've gone through the changes to people's property that have happened over the years. So in 2016, an email was sent by Cheryl's father-in-law, Mark Gregg, to the village of Islamorada and asked the question, hello, Jerry. And Jerry is Jerry Sanders, who was the senior code enforcement officer at the time for the village. Hey, Jerry, are there any regulations or restrictions on keeping chickens in my backyard? Thanks, Mark Gregg. This is 2016. So after some research, a response comes back later that day, because this went out at 9-something in the morning. At about 3:30 in the afternoon, after checking, Jerry Sanders responds, no codes that I'm aware of. So based on that information, Bays got chickens. And you'll hear a little bit more from them, because I know I have a short amount of time, about the saga with the chickens. But at that point, word got out that it was okay to have chickens. And it's been like that ever since. And it was like that until there was a complaint just recently, and all I've done is filed a notice of appeal. I would like very much not to have to follow through with it, but I'm pretty confident that I'm going to win the appeal right now. Thank you.
Thanks, Ty. Next.
Next up is Van Cadenhead, followed by Cheryl McBay.
buck, 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 buck. Just to get ready for this, I had to have a half a dozen hot wings. I think chickens are part of the keys. I think roosters and chickens are part of the keys. I think that if you coop them up in a hen house, you still got to have a rooster. If you don't have a rooster, why do you have chickens? You have chickens because you get eggs. Now, the way food prices are going in the United States today, a lot of people are taking up raising chickens because the price of eggs is through the roof. I don't see you should stand in those people's way if they want to have a hen house or if they want to have free-range chickens. I don't think it's up to you. If there's a complaint from a neighbor that a rooster is waking them up every morning at 5 o'clock in the morning, then you need to have something done. You need to have some kind of a discussion with the neighbors about the rooster. But just remember, if they didn't have roosters, maybe Jesus wouldn't have got crucified, because he had to have the rooster crow 3 times before he realized that he was going to have a problem. So I think roosters go back in history, and chickens go back in history. People have been eating chickens a long time, and I think you're entitled to raise them. I don't think you should be encumbered by the government in any way unless they are some kind of a public health hazard, or if they make a problem in the neighborhood with roosters crowing at 5 o'clock in the morning. But that's, to be settled among neighbors, not to be settled in a court of law. So I wish Mr. Harris the best of luck with this appeal. And if you don't do the right thing, the yoke's on you.
By the way, Van, you don't need a rooster to have hens lay eggs. They do that automatically.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
I've raised hundreds of them, so.
Marnie?
Next is Cheryl McBay, followed by John Wallace.
Hi there. I'm Cheryl McBay from Plantation Key. Been here my whole life. Seen a lot of things change in Islamorada. One of them, why I chose to raise my kids here and have a family and have a business, is I love Islamorada and I love how quirky and charming it is. I do fishing, gardening, fruit trees, and I have chickens. And I love my chickens. My kids love them. My kids help me take care of them. They collect the eggs. It's teaching them responsibility. They also love cooking. They're 10 years old, and both of them love making eggs every single day. We give them out to all of our neighbors whenever we have an abundance of them. All the chickens have names, so they're more pets than just something that gives us eggs. Currently, we have 10 hens. We have no rooster. There's no crowing. They're very quiet. They're in a 12 by 12 coop. They do not leave the coop. They have never left the coop, and you cannot hear them at all. I have an 8-foot fence around my property. The only reason why there was a complaint is I have an interesting neighbor who is very nosy, and actually, after a year of having the chickens, complained that they were noisy to animal control. And the only reason she knew they were there is because she was putting a ladder up on our fence and looking over it and throwing shards of glass in my backyard, trying to hurt my children. She's an interesting lady. Anyways, I've actually tried to friend her, and I don't even know what she looks like, to tell you the truth. But I love Islamorada, and I think chickens play a big part of it. I would love if there was a section carved out with animal control that we could allow them here. I think it would be one less thing on their plate, so I don't see why there's a big deal for that. The chickens that free range, that are all over Islamorada, that are roosters, there's peacocks, those are all legal. Why would you discriminate against chickens in a coop that lay eggs and don't make a noise versus chickens that just are free to do whatever they want? I don't know why there's a discrimination between the two. I don't think that's pretty much all I have. I'm sorry, I'm not very good at this. My husband was supposed to come tonight, but he just got diagnosed with the flu, so I'm saving you all from that. And yeah, whenever we did get chickens originally, we did really do our research, and we tried to make sure that we were doing the correct thing. We asked friends, we asked family, we asked the village. I also know a couple of people that work for the sheriff's department that had chickens, and they told me they were fine. So I just went and took it upon ourselves to get chickens, and ever since then, we've had them and we love them, and they've never been a problem. So.
Thank you.
Any questions?
No.
Okay.
Marnie, anybody else?
Yes, next is John Wallace.
Thank you, John Wallace, Plantation Key. I'm not going to make any jokes about chickens because I don't have a dog in this fight, but I'm actually more interested in the technical aspect of the ordinance. I see the ordinance here the way it's worded, but I don't know what's in the ordinance. And it would make it a lot easier to comment on it if I knew what was in it. So is there some way we can find out what would be in the ordinance, or is this just a placeholder where later on you're going to add things to the
John?
ordinance?
Yeah, it's in the Monroe County Code. So if you go to the Monroe County Code, it cites to the chapter and sections. So it's all available there, yeah. But what I can do is I can put that in the council
Would you
communication
please?
next time, yeah.
Okay.
So you're essentially going to adopt Monroe County's initially with their
That's-
wording? Yes. Okay. The only other comment I have, and I don't have a problem with anybody that wants chickens, but I think you're also, when you start talking about carving things out, that could be a little bit more dangerous than you think, because what do you do if I come to you and say, I want pigs, or I want goats? Are you going to carve that out for me? And if you don't carve that out for me, but you carve out for chickens, now do you have a different kind of problem? So again, I don't have a problem with it. I just think that that's something you're going to have to deal with when you start talking about carving out. It becomes a little bit more complicated, I think. Thank you.
Very true. Thank you. Marnie?
Yes, we have Lena Davis on Zoom, followed by Craig McVeigh and a iPhone caller. So go ahead, Ms. Davis, you've got 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Alina Davis, Plantation Key. I was looking at the agenda today, and on tab 12, it says that Exhibit A, the county code, is attached. There was no attachment. And I understand what you just told the gentleman ahead of me, that, well, you can go to the county code, but that's not what you said in the agenda, and I have a problem with that. Second, Marcia is fantastic. We picked up our last dog from her. Her name is Layla. She's super, super smart. We got her 3.5 years ago when she was about 6 months old. Marcia does a fantastic job. When the kids over on Pippin were shooting BB guns over the fence into my yard, killing the squirrels, Marcia came out. The cops wouldn't do anything. Nobody would do anything, but Marcia said, I'm coming out. And she went through that neighborhood, one house at a time, and said, this is what's going on, and you will be criminally charged if we find out that it's your kids that are doing this. So I have all the respect for Marcia in that case. As far as chickens, so one of my neighbors did have hens, and the yard guy from an adjoining yard called code enforcement on her and said that there was chicken poop over in the yard that he was handling, and code enforcement came out and told her that she had to get rid of her hens. She took her hens to the barn where they were killed by either raccoons or hawks. So I understand both sides of the situation, but when you have something on the agenda and you say that Exhibit A is attached or following, it should be there for all of us to see. I hope you make the right decision on this. I don't know exactly what the right decision is right now, in my opinion, and I agree with the previous gentleman that It's very tough to start carving things out because now you are being selective. And what's good for the goose needs to be good for the gander. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alina. Good point. Marnie?
Sorry. Next is Craig McBay. And Mr. McBay, go ahead. You've got 3 minutes.
Okay, good evening. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, okay. Well, Craig McBay, Plantation Key. Thank you all for your time and your service. I'm sorry I'm not there tonight. As my lovely wife mentioned, I got the flu today, so I thought it'd be best if I stayed home and didn't infect everybody. Everybody has really kind of said a lot of the points that I want to talk about, but I'm going to kind of go back through them because I took the time to write them down anyhow. So, I still think it's incredible how much time and money, I've had to spend worrying about chickens. It's, when we thought this was something that was okay because of how many there are here and how many people actually have the pet ones, I can't believe we're having to go through this. I'm hoping tonight we can get to a resolution that most of the community wants, which I think really is having pet chickens. We're here today because we have a neighbor who has a personal vendetta against me and my family. And once she found out we had chickens, she's just using this to hurt us. The chickens aren't a nuisance to her. They're not a problem. She's just trying to hurt us with using this code as a tool. And unfortunately, I think other people use that as well. So it's a shame that some people are able to do that. Since then, we dealt with animal control. This has gone to council last year. I've had to go to court, and obviously we're still not over, and I'm not, sure when the end is in sight. Pet chickens cause very little noise. They never leave their coop. And of course, at night, about an hour before dark, they go into their coop. They don't make a noise all night. So they're not a nuisance. 4 of our neighbors didn't even know we had chickens until all of this started and we started talking to them about it. So that's how little noise that they make. Wild chickens, and in particular roosters, they can cause an annoyance in neighborhoods because of noise or some of the destruction they make. I still think it's bizarre that animal control doesn't have any issue with that, and we asked them if they could help us with these feral chickens, and they said no. And I think Councilwoman Deb Gillis said, it makes no sense. I understand the need to formally accept county code, for a lot of these issues for animal control, but it should be on our terms. So please put a carve out to allow backyard chickens as we've done in the Keys for all of history. Animal control should be happy with having to do less. We're putting less on their plate so they can focus on the important things, like kids shooting squirrels or, nuisance dogs or violent dogs. So we do need them to do that. But, please allow us to have our chickens. So thank you for your time. And again, I'm sorry I can't be there in person, but I hope we come to a good resolution here.
Thank you, Craig. Feel better. Marnie?
Okay, next up, we have someone on an iPhone on Zoom. Go ahead. You've got 3 minutes. Please state your name.
This is Robert Moser, Lower Metacombe. I'm sorry that he has the flu. I hope it has nothing to do with the bird. This whole issue with the chickens is little unclear to us. But what is now clear is that either way this pans out, the village please needs to have a way to deal with the chickens that are not kept in people's backyards, that animal control is not willing to do anything about, but increasingly wander around the neighborhood. And I don't know if they have an evacuation plan in the event of a hurricane. Thank you.
Okay. Marnie, anybody else?
No, that's it.
Okay, council? Do I have a motion? You want to discuss?
I'll make a motion to approve on first reading with the caveat that we work on doing, whether you call it a carve-out or our own
A potential local carve-out, I would call it.
Yeah, whatever, with the county.
Do I have a second? Don, Steve?
You don't want to second that?
I'll second it. Marnie, call the roll.
Councilmember Deb Gillis?
Yes.
Mayor Sharon Mahoney?
Yes.
Councilmember Steve Friedman?
Yes.
And Vice Mayor Don Horton?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Okay. On to the from the chickens to tab 13. John?
Yep, before I read the tab number, we're into the quasi-judicial portion of the agenda. These are tabs 13 and 14. Please be advised that the following agenda items are quasi-judicial in nature. If you wish to comment on these items, please inform the village clerk by filling out the available sign-up form. An opportunity for persons to speak on each item will be made available after the applicant and staff have made their presentations on each item. As a reminder, testimony in quasi-judicial items must be in person. Zoom testimony is not permitted. These proceedings will be handled in accordance with the village code requirements. All testimony, including public testimony and evidence, will be made under oath or affirmation. Additionally, each person who gives testimony may be subject to cross-examination. If you do not wish to be either cross-examined or sworn, your testimony shall be disregarded. The general public will not be permitted to cross-examine witnesses, but the public may request the council to ask questions of staff or witnesses on their behalf. The full agenda item packet on each item is hereby entered into the record, along with the village code and comprehensive plan. Any correspondence that was received by the village staff is included in the file and part of the record. Persons representing organizations must present evidence of their authority to speak for the organization. Further detail of the quasi-judicial procedures in section 30-256 of the village code may be obtained from the village clerk. As I mentioned tonight, there are two quasi-judicial items. They're tabs 13 and 14. At this time, I would like to ask anyone who intends to speak on the quasi-judicial items to please raise your hand to be sworn into the clerk. Again, this is if you intend to speak at all on tabs 13 or 14.
In the matter of which you are about to give testimony, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
The witnesses have been sworn.
Madam Mayor, tab 13 is stated as follows. An ordinance of Isla Mirada Village of Islands, Florida, concerning the request of LAH Creekside LLC to amend the official zoning map from Village Center to Neighborhood Commercial for the subject property located on Plantation Key with real estate number 00437590-00000, 00437610-00000, 00437630-00000, and 00437640-0000000. As legally described herein, providing for the transmittal of this ordinance to the State Department of Commerce and providing for an effective date upon the approval of this ordinance by the State Department of Commerce. And this ordinance is on second reading. Council, before we begin, I'd like you to please disclose any ex parte communications that you may have had with the applicant or anyone else. Again, this is tab 13. Please include whether the person represented any group or entity, as well as the subject matter as you recall. Thank you.
Okay, Deb?
I spoke with Bart just briefly about whether he was aware that we only had 4 people sitting on council.
Don?
I spoke with Bart Smith as well. I don't think I spoke to anyone else about this.
I had a conversation with Bart. Steve?
None with me.
Okay.
I don't have your phone number yet, Steve.
I'm not hard to find.
Okay.
We are ready to proceed.
Yes.
Thank you, Council. Jennifer DeBobrian, Planning Director. I'm here this evening for second reading on the ordinance to amend the zoning map for the Creekside property up on Plantation Key. This was before you in your December 12th meeting. This is to amend the zoning from Village Center to Neighborhood Commercial. It passed on first reading. And we are here again, like I said, for second reading. Between first and second reading, myself and Mr. Quick had a phone conversation with Mr. Smith regarding some of the concerns and comments that the council had during the first reading. And in that conversation, we discussed some conditions that we hope that the council finds pleasing to their liking. They include 3 conditions related to commercial activities at the property. I can read those out for you. They are, 1, no commercial fishing is permitted. 2, docking facilities for recreational vessels shall be permitted. The mooring of recreational vessels shall be limited to vessels owned by the occupants of the affordable housing dwelling units or guests of the occupants. Guests of the occupants of the affordable housing dwelling unit shall be permitted to moor vessels at the docking facilities for up to, but not to exceed 2 consecutive days, whether or not consecutively moored. Number 3, no commercial uses except for the existing restaurant are permitted. In the event that the lawfully existing restaurant is substantially damaged or destroyed, it is permitted to be rebuilt pursuant to all requirements and development standards of the underlying zoning district. It's the only changes we've made since first reading. So that being said, at this time, I would ask that you approve this on second reading with those 3 additional conditions.
And Madam Mayor, after that, it's just as a reminder, it's a presentation from the applicant, which would be Mr. Smith.
Yep.
And then when we get to public comment, it's all participants in support, and then followed by that as opposed.
Favor first. Go ahead, Bart.
Yes, Bart Smith on behalf of the applicant. And so this is the second reading, as we discussed at the last meeting. The whole purpose of this is to repurpose these buildings from a hotel use to affordable housing. And at the last meeting, there's a couple requests that were made. One, there was a lot of discussion and requests to try to maximize out the amount of units we can do. And so the first thing that we did is we looked at how we designed the units to try to maximize them out. And so this is affordable housing, so the maximum units you can do per acre is 15 units per acre. Now that's whether it's in village center or neighborhood commercial. The only difference is we get to repurpose the buildings if we're in neighborhood commercial, which is the only permitted use that will be allowed other than the existing restaurant. So if you want to know if we're putting our money where our mouth is, so the only use is affordable housing, and we looked at maximizing out the units. And so with the 15 units per acre, the maximum units we could build is 17 units. And so I'll show you the plan in a second, but we got 17 units. It has 27 bedrooms in total. The configuration of the bedrooms as we has it is I think it's like 40 beds or 42 beds in there. But the occupancy, which is normally what things are done, is 77 is the maximum occupancy between all of the units. I'm not saying that's how many people would be there, but I know that was requested. And then, of course, the proposed language that was discussed last time was to limit any vessels there to just the residents and their guests. And so we worked on that language between the meetings. We're comfortable with the language that's in there. And so we would ask that you approve the language as written. The lot of amendment development standards, we went through this last time. As you can see, village center and neighborhood commercial are the same uses, but we've limited to the affordable housing. The floor area is actually reduced in neighborhood commercial, and the setbacks are about the same. Again, what we're doing. We've already revised the BPAS application submitted for the 17 units. The floor plans are in, showing the 17 units with the 27 bedrooms. And so with that, we're looking forward to bringing forth the maximum amount we can do on the property for affordable housing, and we respectfully request that you approve it. And I'll answer any questions you may have.
Council? Deb, you got a question?
I don't think I have a question, at least not at this moment, but I do say thank you for revising the affordable housing. It's an important issue in this town, and for you to do the best you can. And I believe that the 17 units is what you, because the acreage is not huge. So, thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Don, any questions? Steve?
No, ma'am.
I guess I just want to know, how does the docking get enforced? If someone else is using it, or they're subletting the dockage, or something to that effect, how does that get enforced?
It's the same thing as anything. It's code compliance. If you violate a code,
someone have to complain to code compliance, they'd come out, do an investigation.
Yeah, violate
See
it.
if it's been there for more than 2 days, or if there's something else.
Correct. It's just like anything with any property, any violation of a condition of anything is code compliance. It's a violation of the code, it's a violation of the conditions. Code compliance would cite them, either they come into compliance or you're fined. I mean, technically, actually, if you're a neighbor, you also have the ability to get like injunctive relief if it was really bad. John's shaking his head, but those are the two main methods anyone has to enforce any condition in any part of a code is one, code compliance, or if you're a neighbor and you're adversely affected, you could sue and get an injunctive relief. So, yep.
Anybody else? No? Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Thank you.
We're going to open up for all in favor. Marnie?
I have someone who is neutral and someone who opposes.
Where's neutral fit in, John?
It doesn't, but we might as well bring them up now since they're in the middle.
Yeah.
So it's somewhere in the middle of,
Yeah,
of support and oppose.
Yeah,
So
okay,
we'll bring
so-
them up first, and then we can bring up the
Okay,
opposed.
Marty?
Are you saying you're neutral also?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, first up will be Van Cadenhead.
Well, I appreciate getting 17 affordable housing units out of that, but I think we could have gotten 51 ones out of 50 motel rooms, which it wouldn't be anywhere near as grand or wonderful, but they would have accommodated 50 of the working class people that really need a place that they could rent for $1,000 a month or less. And it's the 17 units are probably going to be taken up by the managerial staff at the Islander. And what really bothers me most is I'm happy that the vacation rentals are, I mean, the affordable housing is going in there, and that's a plus. I lament losing the made to order, at least temporarily. But what I don't understand, and what I think we should take a long look at, is how 50 motel rooms come out of the Creekside and go to the Islander to become, with their additional TDRs that they get, 56 units to take up a big construction project on the Islander property for 56 more units, and we're only getting 17 affordable housing units out of that. Now, the motel rooms, which is why I think that this decision on this particular part of it should be made after we have a community charrette on TDRs, because this has been a problem from the inception of the village, is the increase in density and intensity of taking an EDU as a dwelling unit and turning a 400-foot motel room into a much larger space, which increases the density. And what we're doing here is taking 50 motel rooms and taking them to Isla Mirada, to the center of Isla Mirada. I mean, you can term the zoning any way you want to, but in effect, the traffic and the people and the loss of square footage of open space on the Islander is not necessarily beneficial to the people of Isla Mirada. It's definitely beneficial to the developer of the Islander. But I don't think the traffic study, if it's been done by an unbiased traffic consultant, then you have to accept it. But this last Christmas, right after Christmas, the day after Christmas, there were 3 serious automobile accidents between Papa Joe's and Ballyhoo or Wahoo's. So we have too much traffic there as it is. So please consider that. And listen, I'm here giving testimony, and I don't want to be held to 3 minutes.
John?
There's a 3-minute limit, and this is representing our organization.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Thank you, Van.
you got me, don't you?
Yeah, thank you, Van.
Well, you also get what I'm saying, I hope.
Yes, I do. Thank you. Marnie?
Okay, next would be Mr. Wishmeyer.
And these are the opposed?
As
Or
opposed, yes.
neutral?
Joe Wishmeyer, Plantation Key. I'm not neutral. I guess the first thing is, it happened again tonight. I was coming up here to compliment you all on doing something with the interim manager, but I guess we'll leave that for another time. Regarding the rezoning of the Creekside, by changing the zoning, the motel will then become non-compliant. Does that mean it will immediately close down for business and they will start construction right away? Council should not be creating or promoting anything that turns a compliant building into a non-compliant circumstance. we kind of did this with all the TDRs for the Islander, because I believe that the code states that the sender property is supposed to do all of their work before the receiver property can do theirs. Yet you made conditions for the Islander that, no, they just have to have it done before you'll give them the CO at the Islander. That's not the way the code is written, and I know a lot of times you guys get up there and say, well, if it's dealing with BPAS or something, you've got to deal with the rules. You got to deal with the rules. Yet here we go again. You keep making these conditions and approving things that are not applicable with the code. So please make sure you keep all that in mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Marnie?
Thank you, Joe.
There's no one else.
Well, Jennifer, why don't you answer, or can we address that question about them having to have something done before? Is that in the code, what he was talking about?
I'm sorry, I was reading something else. I was.
Gotcha. I'm catching everybody
No,
tonight.
I would say that you can't build the development without having the zoning change. I mean, so otherwise the development would be there and it would be inconsistent with the zoning change. The zoning change has to come first. Yeah, and then and it's all part of the development application. So you would have to have the zoning first. You can't have the building and then the zoning.
Sorry. Okay. Want to have that for Mr. Wishmeyer. Okay. Council, do you want to have a discussion? Deb? Mike?
Oh, I thought I turned it on. I turned it off, sorry. I was just going to say, it's not a condition, it's in the code, is that they cannot get their CO for the main property until they finish the affordables.
Yes.
That is true.
Yes.
They have to finish the affordables before they can get their CO on the main property. Addressing the affordable units, they've made 27 bedrooms in those 17 units, so at least we're doing that. And there is a minimum square footage that's required to build an affordable, and I think it's 500? 500. And I believe the rest of the county code is only 400. So maybe if we reduce that a little bit, 400, it definitely limits it more to one bedrooms, but 500, you can squeeze two bedrooms out of them. Barely. But
That's a tight fit.
well, I've seen it.
Yeah.
So anyway, I really appreciate their efforts. It is very difficult to build affordable anymore, and the fact that they're going to get 17 with 27 bedrooms that will have a maximum occupancy of 77 people is marvelous.
Okay. Don?
So we can't have the affordable housing unless we change the zoning. We need affordable housing. We talk about it all the time. The way I look at TDRs is that this village has a basket of marbles, and you can move, the basket is full of those marbles, and you can move a marble from the bottom of the basket to the top, and you're not creating more marbles. And the hotel rooms exist, and hotel rooms are looked at as hotel rooms. And our code limits the size of a hotel room and the number of bathrooms and all of that stuff. So it's still a hotel room, whether it exists at the bottom of the basket or the top of the basket. But we're not making any more affordable housing right now. We're not seeing applications going through. And I think that we're not increasing intensity or density. We're moving it from one part to another part, but that's that basket of marbles. But without doing that, we're not going to get these affordable housing units there, and we desperately need those. You can't turn that hotel into just turn it into affordable housing units. There's a process. They have to go through the affordable housing B-Pass and get permitted that way. And if the development that if they're doing the redevelopment, and if it requires the affordable housing mitigation fees, and these units, these 17 units that they're putting, don't satisfy that affordable housing standard that's in the code, then they're going to have to be putting more money into the village's coffers that is dedicated for more affordable housing units. So it's not a loss by moving hotel rooms around, but it certainly is a win for the village to be able to change the zoning on that property, to take it to where there's residential across the canal, and now we've got affordable housing residential on that piece of property. So I'm in favor of it. I think it's great.
Steve? Nothing? Okay. I agree with both of these lovely people next to me here, so. Okay, anybody have any questions for Bart? Are we ready to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
And I'll second.
Okay, Marnie, call the roll, please.
Vice Mayor Don Horton?
Yes.
Councilmember Deb Gillis?
Yes.
Councilmember Steve Friedman?
No.
And Mayor Sharon Mahoney?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-1.
Thank you. Have a good night. Okay, moving on to tab 14.
Yes, finally, tab 14. This is a resolution of the Village Council of Islamorada, Village of Islands, Florida, considering the request by Christina Bonstead for administrative relief from the village building permit allocation system for property located at 165 Sunset Drive, Lower Matacumbe, as legally described in Exhibit A, providing for transmittal of to the Department of Commerce and providing for an effective date. Council, again, before we begin on tab 14, if you'll please disclose any ex parte communications you may have had with anyone, and please include whether they represented a group or entity, as well as the subject matter as you recall.
Deb?
I had none.
Tom? Don?
I haven't spoken to anyone.
Myself, no one, and Steve said no one. So,
Good evening, Council. Jennifer DeBorbian, Planning Director again. I'm here for administrative relief for 165 Sunset Drive. 165 Sunset Drive LLC has applied for administrative relief pursuant to Section 30-477 of the Code of Ordinances of the Islamorada Village of Islands. Village Code Section 30-477 requires that a public hearing be held during which the Village Council shall consider all evidence presented regarding the application and shall follow the procedures, standards, and criteria found in Code Sections 30-552 and 30-553, beneficial use. The burden of proof shall be on the applicant. The subject property is located at 165 Sunset Drive and legally described as Exhibit A of the proposed resolution. The application was entered into the building permit allocation system on September 16th, 2020. The application has been considered in 4 consecutive annual allocation periods and has failed to receive an allocation award. At the close of quarter 4 of 2024, the application was ranked 46th with 14 points. Pursuant to the requirements set forth in Code Section 30-477A, the applicant was eligible to apply for administrative relief between 12:01 p.m. on September 30th, 2024 and 12 p.m. on January 28th, 2025. The applicant submitted the application for administrative relief on November 25th, 2024. The proposed development is one single-family, 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom home, approximately 1,632 square feet. The site is approximately 5,125 square feet with allowed clearing and mitigation based on habitat. The analysis for the administrative relief is in your packet. One thing I did want to point out is there has been some question about the subdivision or lot split that was done on the lot in 2018. That was done through the property appraiser, not legally through the village. So based on that information, we would recommend that if the council moves forward with an allocation, that you condition it upon them coming back to get the lot split legally done through the village prior to any building permit being issued. Additional information that has been provided, the property owner has complied with all requirements of the building permit allocation system. The B-Pass application has not been withdrawn at any time. The property owner has not applied for a deferral, and the applicant is seeking an allocation award. The Village Council may take any of the following or the combination of the following actions as per Code Section 30-477F. and grant the applicant an allocation award for all or part of the allocation requested in the next succeeding allocation period or extended pro rata over several succeeding allocation periods, offer to purchase the property at its fair market value, or suggest such other relief as may be necessary. The village currently has 19 allocations available for administrative relief. And as always, I'm here to answer any questions.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Jennifer? We move on to all in favor.
I don't know if the applicant is here. If it has
Is
any-
the applicant here? Does
I
anyone
don't know.
I don't have any questions, I just had a statement.
Well, okay.
Oh,
she's
the
raising-
applicant? That's fine.
You're entitled to make a presentation if you'd like.
I'm just the agent on behalf of the owner here to field any questions you may have.
Okay, then Deb?
Okay, I just wanted to say that this property has a turtle beach, and they will be required to comply with turtle nesting areas. The shoreline setback is required at 30 feet, and they're providing 58 feet. It's a Class B buffer. Stormwater is being addressed, and no vegetation is proposed to be removed.
Just to clarify, it is not a Turtle Beach.
Turtle Beach area, it is not?
Yeah, if you're reading from what I sent you, if you look at the first bullet point, it says it is not a Turtle Beach.
Sorry, take that all back.
Never mind.
Never mind that. But they're meeting.
There are others on that street that are Turtle Beaches. This one is not.
Ah, sorry. So, but the point of that conversation was that they're meeting our requirements. We have requirements that protect the environment, and that they're meeting all of those requirements. That's already been approved.
Yes.
And the public just needs to understand that just because we're given an allocation, or could give them an allocation, doesn't mean that they can do anything that they want.
No, the permit has already been reviewed and approved by the
Right.
biologist, yes.
Okay. So, John, we move to all in favor?
Yes.
Marnie?
Excuse me. Again, we have Van as neutral, so we'll start with him, followed by Mr. Wishmeyer for the opposed.
Yeah, I am Van Cadenhead, and I just had a question for clarification about the split. And I understand the split was done through the county and it hasn't been done by the village. So don't you think we should settle that before we vote on giving them one of these very rare administrative reliefs? Should we ensure that that's feasible to do with the split? Because it seems like you're going to give them the cart before the horse. I don't know. I mean, it's not my property. It's not my realm of expertise. But it seems like we're not getting things in the proper order. I would prefer to see the split defined by the village and then give them the administrative relief, because I think they've earned it. I mean, they've been here for 4 years. That's why I'm neutral on this. But I just think the clarification about how the split is going to be. What if we decide not to give them the split from the village? What are they going to do then? So, I'm just trying to look ahead a little bit. Thank you.
Marnie?
Next up is Mr. Wishmeyer.
Yes, Joe Wishmeyer, Plantation Key. My comments come under the council communications, and 3A was relating to the platted parcel. The village council should focus on the parcel as a whole and not on particular segments or portions of the parcel. The staff claimed that 3A was not applicable to this. Well, the parcel has had a split, so I disagree. It states that during the review, it was discovered that a portion of Lot 19 was subdivided without approval by the village. 3B, the village council shall not consider anything less than a platted lot. Since the lot was illegally split in 2018 from 161 Sunset Drive, don't know if that's a legal platted lot anymore, so maybe the council needs to take that into consideration. Staff recommends approval with condition that the applicant applies for a legal lot split. Well, council has to stop condoning breaking the law and then getting rewarded for it. Settle the illegal split first and then come back and we'll revisit the situation then. The parcel was also sold at 8/19/24 for $1,450,000. So even though the appraised value was only $441,154, I don't understand why a new owner of only 6 months gets credit for 4 years on BPAS, while other people with their properties, not just property, has spent time on the BPAS. Maybe this is something that needs to be addressed. I don't know if it's just the property that has to be on the BPAS for 4 years, or, you know, I mean, how many times can it be sold and still get credit for being on the BPAS? So we need to be careful not to start a precedent here too with other people splitting lots and then wanting more and more building permits when we only have a certain number to go. Thank you.
Thank you, Marnie. Anybody else?
Nope, no one else.
Okay, counsel?
So there's been instance after instance where somebody has done a lot line adjustment. It's still a legal platted lot, lot 19. It's smaller because a portion of that went over to another lot, but it still is a platted lot, number 19. And I asked the same question as far as the size of the lot. Does it meet the code and all? And it does. It meets the minimum lot size that's in our code. You know, years ago, the people would do lot line adjustments, the lot splits, meets and bounds moving of their properties, and no one said anything. And that's why the property appraiser just would, you go in and say, you know, I'm going to sell in a meets and bounds description 10 feet for my next door neighbor, and you give them a deed and the property appraiser would just change that. Since then, the village's planning staff has realized that that has happened, and you can't do that under the village's code if you create a nonconformity. But in this instance, it's still lot 19 that didn't create a nonconformity. It's more, I think, administrative than anything, but it does need to be taken care of. So I've already, y'all all know my stand on this, on what's happening in our administrative relief. These people have, in good faith, applied for a permit 4 years ago, been sitting in a queue, and are asking for relief. We don't want to buy $1 million piece of property on the ocean and be responsible for it, and so.
Well, plus Jennifer made it very clear that the lot split will be done by the village before they get, and that's, can be
Lot
part of.
adjustment, lot
Yes,
line adjustment, yeah.
Yes, can be done before
It's
they get the
probably not a
permit.
split
So-
because you're not creating another
Yeah,
lot.
you know what I
Yeah.
meant, though, that that's going to be contingent on them
Yeah.
getting.
Yeah.
the-
And just as a point of clarification, for the contingency on the lot line adjustment, that will need to be included in the motion.
That's what that's what I was getting to, I just couldn't get it out. Steve? Okay,
So, I was just going to make the point that the contingency or the recommended contingency that we include is that that lot line has to be cleared before
Yes.
they actually get the permit. And I did ask the question, and at this point of juncture with a cursory review or whatever needs to be done, it looks like that's not a problem going down the road. But it does need to be cleared before they actually get it. So that being said, you need a motion?
Yes.
Are you ready?
are we ready to do a motion? Do I have one?
I'll make a motion to approve this with the contingency as recommended.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Marnie, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Deb Gillis?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Don Horton?
Yes.
Councilmember Steve Friedman?
No?
And Mayor Sharon Mahoney.
Yes.
The motion passes 3-1.
Okay, so before we say there's no meeting on Thursday night, correct? But we need to have Miss Anna come up here now.
Yes,
It's
ma'am.
your time. Come on up, get used to it.
Been sitting in the chair for so long, I think I could walk.
So I guess Marnie's
So
going
Marnie,
to.
you can swear her in?
Raise your right hand, and if you swear or affirm, please state. I, Anna Richards, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support, protect, and Florida, and that I am duly qualified to hold office under the Constitution of the state, and that I will, in all respects, observe the provisions of the Charter and ordinances of Isla Mirada, Village of Island, and that I will well and faithfully perform the duties of council member on which I am now about to enter.
Welcome. Would you like to make your first motion?
Motion to dismiss.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Thank you, everybody.